Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales. Chapter 41:12. Scorching Sun Explosion. When this resplendent dragon martial skill exploded in the air, it immediately caused everyone in the Shi clan estate to become a little nervous. Who exactly was stronger, Jiang Shenwu, who had inherited the essence blood of the holy dragon, or Zhao Tianji, who was at the 5th level of the Nirvana tribulation stage? The answer was soon revealed. The countless shadow dragon teeth unleashed by Jiang Shenwu were actually shattered into pieces by the power of the scorching sun spatial explosion. They were completely unable to harm Zhao Tianji. However, the remaining power of Zhao Tianji's scorching sun spatial explosion that landed on Jiang Shenwu's body after shattering the shadow dragon teeth was also unable to harm Jiang Shenwu in the slightest. Zhao Tianji should have won by a little, right? Yes, but it is said that Kang Xinmu has cultivated a very strong body refining dragon martial skill. He is stronger than Zhao Tianji in terms of physical defense. What's the use of only defense? Kang Xinmu does not even have the power of Nirvana. He must be dreaming if he wants to defeat Zhao Tianji. Everyone burst out laughing. Except for the extremely nervous Shi Tao family and the 2 Kam Yen dragon envoys, no one else was optimistic about Kang Xinmu's chances. After all, they were all too clear about the power of Nirvana. Having the power of Nirvana was twice as powerful as having the power of talent. It was impossible for Zhao Tianji to lose to Kang Xinmu in a fight. Unless there was a huge difference in the level of the skills used by the two sides. I heard that Kang Xinmu made a great contribution a year ago and obtained a first-grade dragon martial skill from the Yen dragon army. I wonder how his cultivation is going now. That first-grade dragon martial skill seems to be offensive. It should be powerful, but I have never seen the power of a first-grade dragon martial skill. I don't know how it is. He should still not be a match for Zhao Tianji. After all, Zhao Tianji also knows a second-grade dragon martial skill, and he must have almost mastered it. While everyone was talking, the confrontation between Kang Xinmu and Zhao Tianji finally entered the second round. Scorching Sun Explosion, Shining Roar. After Zhao Tianji finished using the 3rd-grade dragon martial technique, he immediately followed up with a new 3rd-grade dragon martial technique. The power of the green lamp that had previously exploded next to Jiang Shenwu flickered with a dazzling light, and issued an extremely ear-piercing sound. The appearance of the light and sound immediately made some low-level dragon martial artists close their eyes and cover their ears. The destructive power of the scorching sun explosion and shining roar dragon martial skill was really amazing, but it was limited to the destruction of living beings. It had no destructive power to some natural objects. At that moment, Jiang Shenwu also endured the terrifying, dazzling light and ear-piercing sound. However, he did not hesitate and instantly enveloped his divine dragon's eyes and ears with his devouring power, covering the two powerful attacks in an instant. Blood flowed out of Jiang Shenwu's divine dragon eyes and ears. However, as the devouring power devoured the power of the green lamp of the blazing sun, even though it was only a little, it was enough for him to heal his injuries. I didn't expect such a dragon martial skill to exist. What a surprise! Kang Xinmu's black dragon body suddenly became violent. His body was 3 times bigger than Zhao Tianji's scorching sun divine dragon. At this moment, his black dragon body went berserk and suddenly fell on top of Zhao Tianji's scorching sun divine dragon. Extreme shadow flowing light. Kang Xinmu used the 2nd-grade dragon martial skill and instantly fell on top of scorching sun divine dragon. Then, his black dragon body, which was larger than its body size, instantly wrapped around it. But Zhao Tianji was not surprised. Seeing this situation, he sneered, "I heard that you have comprehended the power of devouring and are good at close combat. You can devour your opponent's power to strengthen yourself. Unfortunately, you really can't devour the power essence in my body today." Then, a layer of golden light appeared on his body. It turned out that he had used the dragon-level dragon weapon. It emitted a bright light that enveloped the scorching sun divine dragon's body. Zhao Tianji obviously had not integrated with the dragon-level dragon weapon. However, as a fourth-tier Nirvana Tribulation cultivator, he could obviously exert the power of the dragon-level dragon weapon. Even without integration, it was much stronger than the Heavenly Saint's halberd. The power of devouring spread in darkness. But on the surface of the scorching sun divine dragon's body, it could not penetrate the layer of dazzling golden light and corrode the scorching sun divine dragon's body to devour the opponent's power. This made Kang Xinmu a little disappointed. Zhao Tianji was really a bit like a turtle. It seemed that ordinary means could not penetrate his defense. How is it? Do you feel that your strength is insufficient? The gap in cultivation level cannot be made up for. Zhao Tianji immediately shouted. The power of the scorching sun divine dragon burned all over his body. There was actually a layer of golden flame that burned along with Kang Xinmu's black dragon body. Second grade dragon martial skill, ancient fire of 10,000 splitting. The appearance of this layer of golden flame immediately made the surrounding people exclaim. Second grade dragon martial skill, ancient fire of 10,000 splitting. This was the powerful dragon martial skill that Zhao Tianji had exchanged for in the battle with the Northern Chill Dragon country. Currently, he had comprehended and cultivated this dragon martial skill to the earth level. In this 1 year, to be able to cultivate a grade 2 dragon martial skill from beginner to the earth level was already a pretty good result for a young man. Moreover, in general, only the Dragon King was qualified to cultivate a second-grade dragon martial skill. Even for the Dragon King, there were not many who had cultivated a first-grade dragon martial skill. Of course, even if they had cultivated a first-grade dragon martial skill, it would be difficult for them to thoroughly comprehend it to the heaven level and pass it on to the next generation. Therefore, for the younger generation, a second-grade dragon martial skill was basically the limit. Only the children of the Dragon King could have the opportunity to cultivate a second-grade dragon martial skill. For example, the holy dragon Shi Tao had cultivated a second-grade dragon martial skill, but he would have to wait a long time before he could cultivate it to the heaven level and pass it on to the next generation. Simply put, in the Shi clan's mansion, the strongest inheritance was a third-grade dragon martial skill. For example, the shadow dragon Fang that Kang Xinmu cultivated was passed on to him by Shi Tao. But in the Dragon King's mansion, there might be a second-grade dragon martial skill. On top of that, Zhao Tianji was also quite capable. In the war against the Northern Chill Dragon country, he killed his enemies quickly. Even though he had to use other people's merits in order to obtain a second-grade dragon technique, it was still a success for him. Ancient fire of 10,000 splitting. Chapter 41:13. This second-grade dragon martial technique is quite destructive. Kang Xinmu found it interesting. The ancient fire of 10,000 split burned on his body, making him feel as though his entire body was about to be torn apart. The flames took the opportunity to enter, wanting to burn his 5 viscera and 6 bowels, and even his entire dragon body to ashes. Unfortunately, Kang Xinmu had inherited the blood essence of a divine dragon. The ancient fire burned into his blood vessels and was quickly swallowed by the devouring power in his blood vessels, turning it into the purest spiritual qi of heaven and earth to heal his injuries. His opponent's nirvana power was not weak, but it was not of a high level, which disappointed Kang Xinmu. Martial Dragon Shield. Jiang Xinwu's entire body was covered in a layer of divine dragon shield formed from devouring power. In the next moment, he suddenly extended it and directly excluded the ancient fire of 10,000 crack. Originally, Kang Xinmu was too lazy to pay attention to it, but he wanted to show his opponent that he had truly cultivated the second-grade dragon martial technique to its peak. Just now, his opponent did not believe that he could teach him a second-grade dragon martial technique. But now, he snorted and shouted, "Open your eyes and look. This is a second-grade dragon martial technique that has been cultivated to the heaven level." With the martial dragon divine shield here, Zhao Tianji, can your ancient fire hurt me? His roar made Zhao Tianji's entire body tremble. A second-grade dragon martial technique had been cultivated to the heaven level. This martial dragon shield had actually reached the heaven level, so much so that his ancient fire could not even find a crack. Even the ancient fire that had corroded Kang Shinmu's body seemed to have disappeared without a trace, as if it had turned into air. It really is a second-grade dragon martial technique that has been cultivated to the extreme. Martial dragon shield, is this what he exchanged for in the war with the northern Chill Dragon country? This power is really terrifying. Even without the Nirvana power, he can use the divine dragon's blood essence to forcibly resist the powerful attack of Zhao Tianji, who is at the 4th level of the Nirvana tribulation state. The crowd below, who originally didn't think highly of Kang Shinmu, had no choice but to admit that Kang Shinmu's talent was terrifying. The martial dragon divine shield had already reached the heaven level. Shi Yueying and Shi Yutong were pleasantly surprised. They weren't sure if Kang Shinmu had really done it, but it seemed like it was nothing to Kang Shinmu. A second-grade dragon martial technique had reached the heaven level. Zhao Tianji would not be a match for Kang Shinmu with just this dragon martial god shield. Shi Yueying knew that Kang Shinmu had long cultivated the body-tempering dragon-type martial technique. With the help of the martial dragon divine shield, it looked more like a 10,000-year-old tortoise. Although this analogy wasn't very good, it was very vivid. Basically, when the martial dragon shield was activated, unless it was an existence that was much stronger than Kang Shinmu, it was impossible to break through his defense. Humph, you are too naive. You want me to admit defeat? You are too inexperienced. Zhao Tianji didn't take Kang Shinmu seriously at all. Instead, he took a fancy to Kang Shinmu's martial dragon divine shield. As long as he defeated Kang Shinmu would have to teach him this dragon martial technique. This was what they had agreed on before. Originally, he didn't believe that Kang Shinmu could teach him a second-grade dragon martial technique. But now that Kang Shinmu had demonstrated it, he was a little happy. It seemed that he had gained a lot this time. It should be known that he had spent a lot of effort to obtain the ancient fire of 10,000 splitting. Moreover, he wouldn't have such a good opportunity to earn merit points in the war against the Northern Chill Dragon state. If he could get the martial dragon divine shield, he would be able to attack and defend. Wouldn't that be great? Ancient fire of 10,000 splitting, explode. Then, he snorted coldly. The scorching sun divine dragon suddenly moved in the air. A bright light burst into flames and immediately covered the surface of Kang Shinmu's black dragon body. The ancient fire of 10,000 splitting spread from the body of the scorching sun divine dragon and enveloped the entire body of the black dragon in an instant. Then, the ancient fire of 10,000 splitting exploded. It turned out that the ancient fire of 10,000 splitting had two forms. The first form was to continuously burn the opponent in the form of possession. It would corrode the opponent's blood vessels and gradually burn the opponent to ashes. This form was relatively weak, but it was enough to deal with weaker opponents. Apart from that, there was another form, and that was the ancient fire explosion. At this moment, Zhao Tianji used the form of the ancient fire explosion. After the ancient fire of 10,000 splitting stuck to the body of Kang Shinmu's black dragon body, it exploded in an instant. The terrifying power of the green lamp and the power of nirvana surged out from the explosion. It immediately caused many deep wounds on the body of Kang Shinmu's black dragon body. Then, the ancient fire of 10,000 splitting attached to the wounds and started burning them. It was as if a thin man had beaten up a fat man until he exploded. Unfortunately, Kang Shinmu was not an ordinary fat man. His divine dragon's blood essence had allowed his black dragon body to grow to 300 feet long. At the same time, the devouring power in his body had also become 3 times stronger. The defense of the chaotic dragon body of the body-refining dragon had also increased by 3 times. The next moment, before Zhao Tianji, Dragon King, and the others could laugh with joy, the power in Kang Shinmu's body suddenly exploded. Now, there's no need to keep you alive. Void Dragon Sky-Raising Blast. This dragon attack was an extremely powerful trump card for the current Kang Shinmu. He did not even want to use this move, but the destructive power of his opponent's ancient fire of 10,000 splitting was not small. Kang Shinmu could not be bothered to tangle with his opponent any longer. It was more decisive to end the battle quickly. The silhouettes of 3 divine dragons appeared in the air. The 3 explosions of the Void Dragon Sky-Raising Blast, a total of 24 pitch-black divine dragon light cannons suddenly bombarded Zhao Tianji's location. As far as the eye could see, there were pure pitch-black divine dragon light cannons all around. 24 beams of light rapidly approached and completely enveloped Zhao Tianji. What? Zhao Tianji did not even have time to react before he was drowned in this terrifying explosion. Tianji. Dragon King Zhao Wuwang's expression changed drastically when he sensed the terror of this dragon attack. He instantly transformed into his true form as the Dragon King, and a terrifying aura immediately spread out from the Shi clan residence. Zhao Wuwang realized that his son was likely to die to this move from Kang Shinmu, so he attacked without hesitation. A terrifying divine dragon power that far surpassed the power of Nirvana landed in front of the 24 pitch-black divine dragon light cannons and completely blocked them. Even though the origin dragon attack was on the verge of reaching the heaven rank, Zhao Wuwang's power did not waver. Then, Zhao Wuwang looked at Kang Shinmu with a cold look in his eyes. Chapter 41-14. Zhao Wuwang actually wanted to make a move against Kang Shinmu. One had to know that Zhao Wuwang was the Dragon King, the Lord of the Dragon Territory. His strength had long surpassed the Nirvana Tribulation Realm and reached the Reincarnation Tribulation Realm. Although he had not reached the peak of the Reincarnation Tribulation Realm, his strength definitely surpassed Kang Shinmu's by countless levels. Even if Kang Shinmu self-destructed in front of him, he would not be able to cause the slightest bit of harm. On the other hand, if he wanted to deal with Kang Shinmu, he would only need to lift a finger. Whether it was in terms of cultivation realm or the grade of the divine dragon's blood essence, Zhao Wuwang crushed Kang Shinmu. Of course, this was also the case now. After a period of time, when Kang Shinmu returned from Donghuang Yangwu College, he might not be any weaker than Zhao Wuwang. However, if Zhao Wuwang wanted to make a move against Kang Shinmu now, Kang Shinmu would not be able to resist at all. However, Kang Shinmu was not worried about this at all. "Old man, you actually don't care about your reputation and want to make a move against me?" Kang Shinmu sneered as he soared in the sky, not the slightest bit afraid of Zhao Wuwang's actions. "Humph, since you tried to kill my son today, I, the Dragon King, will naturally teach you a lesson. Also, hand over that second-grade defensive dragon martial technique of yours. Otherwise, don't even think of leaving this place alive today." Zhao Wuwang had transformed into a 500 Zhang Dragon King's body. His power was terrifying, and even the sacred dragon Shitao below could not be a match for him at his peak. At this moment, he was threatening Kang Shinmu, and a terrifying power spread towards Kang Shinmu in the sky. Kang Shinmu, Shi Yueying, Shi Tao, and the others jumped in fright. They really didn't expect that Zhao Wuwang would really fight in a spar between the younger generation. Just a moment ago, Shi Yueying felt that Kang Shinmu was going to defeat Zhao Tianji. She didn't expect that Zhao Wuwang would be so shameless as to bully Kang Shinmu and force Kang Shinmu to write down the cultivation technique of the martial dragon god shield. Moreover, this Zhao Wuwang seemed to want to capture Kang Shinmu and use force to coerce him. At that time, if Kang Shinmu was unwilling, his life might be in danger. Divine Martial. Shi Tao was injured, and his heart was burning with anxiety as he watched Zhao Wuwang make his move. If he was at his peak condition, he could try to protect Kong Xinmu. At the very least, he could block Zhao Wuwang for a while, allowing Kong Xinmu to escape, but now, as for the others in the Shi clan, they didn't have a single sacred dragon, so they couldn't stop Zhao Wuwang for even a moment. Even if they had the ability to protect Kong Xinmu and allow Kong Xinmu to escape, they wouldn't be willing to do so. At that moment, when they saw that Zhao Wuwang was about to attack, the many elders from the Shi clan mansion started laughing instead. A mere junior dares to strut around in front of Dragon King? How naive. That's right, does he really think that young Master Zhao Tianji is that easy to bully? Does he really think that defeating young Master will change the situation? How foolish. He's only throwing his life away by barging into the Shi clan's residence. He even gave Dragon King a second-grade dragon martial technique. How satisfying. The elders of the Shi clan were actually laughing and chatting with an outsider. This situation was truly chilling. This was especially true for Holy Dragon Shi Tao, as well as the two sisters, Shi Yueying and Shi Yutong. They hated the words of those elders to death, but they were powerless to change anything. Those elders were simply people who forsook morality at the sight of profit and fawned on those in power. If it wasn't for this incident, they really wouldn't have been able to tell that these elders were actually such people. However, the situation was extremely urgent now. Even if Shi Tao had to put his life on the line, he couldn't let Kong Xinmu fall into Dragon King's hands. Even though he was coughing and holding his chest, he still took a step forward. He immediately wanted to transform into a dragon and stop Dragon King. However, at this moment, an arm draped in a pitch-black cloak appeared in front of him and blocked his path. A hoarse voice resounded, "Don't worry, Sacred Dragon." Shi Tao immediately recalled that Kong Xinmu seemed to have brought two black-cloaked figures to the Shi clan estate. However, he didn't know who they were, so he didn't place his hopes on them. Moreover, even if Kong Xinmu had brought two helpers, how could they be a match for Dragon King? If Dragon King Qiu was still here, Dragon King wouldn't have been so arrogant. However, Dragon King Qiu had died at the hands of that greater demon, so Dragon King had become even more unbridled. "May I ask who the two of you are?" Shi Tao coughed. He was just about to ask when he suddenly sensed a terrifying and shocking aura erupt from ahead. A violet divine lightning dragon that was over 600 m long suddenly appeared here, and it obstructed Zhao Wuwang's path. After that, the violent energy of violet lightning rumbled as it descended, and it instantly smashed against Zhao Wuwang's body. It was as if a sudden clap of thunder had descended from the sky. Then, the crowd saw that the mighty Dragon King Zhao Wuwang had actually fallen from the sky and landed on the ground with a loud crash. What's this? Regardless of whether it was inside or outside the Shi clan mansion, all the spectating dragon warriors in the entire dragon prison city were shocked speechless by this instant. The dragon practitioners that Dragon King had brought with him had been relying on Dragon King to show off their strength. However, all of them were staring with their eyes wide open in shock. They hadn't expected that their greatest backer, Dragon King Zhao Wuwang, would be struck down by a single move and heavily injured to the ground. Just who was this violet divine lightning dragon that was over 600 m long? Everyone turned around and looked around. They discovered that one of the black-cloaked men that Kong Xinmu had brought with him had transformed into a violet divine lightning dragon that was over 600 m long and had heavily injured Dragon King Zhao Wuwang with a single move. "How dare you? Who dares to behave atrociously in my Dragon Emperor Zhao Wuwang?" Immediately, a divine dragon expert from Quan Longyu shouted, "This is Dragon King Quan Longyu of my Dragon Emperor Zhao Wuwang. Dragon King Quan, how dare you attack Lord Dragon King? You should know what's good for you and come down immediately and wait for the envoy from Dragon Emperor City to deal with you. Otherwise, it will be considered a provocation to our Dragon Emperor Zhao Wuwang. You will die without a doubt." He clearly didn't know the identity of the Violet Divine Lightning Dragon, but he guessed that the Violet Divine Lightning Dragon had come from another country of the Yen Dragon Emperor Zhao Wuwang. Chapter 41:15. Originally, the two Flame Dragon envoys did not want to reveal their identities. But helplessly, the matter of the Shi clan residence was a little too big, and it even involved Quan Long Yu's Dragon King, Zhao Wuwang. Therefore, if they did not reveal their identities, it would definitely be difficult to convince the masses. Moreover, it would be detrimental to Kang Xinmu's reputation, as well as the future situation of the Shi clan residents. Therefore, they definitely had to reveal their identities. After defeating Dragon King in one strike, the Purple Lightning Divine Dragon transformed into a human form, once again becoming the appearance of the black-cloaked person, and took out a fiery red flaming token from his bosom. "Look clearly, what is this?" The voice of the black-cloaked person was rather crisp, and sounded like a woman. All this while, Jiang Shenwu had never heard this woman speak. It was always another middle-aged man with a hoarse voice who spoke. At this moment, when he heard this voice, he felt that it was very pleasant to hear, like a lark standing on a branch in the early morning, sweet and melodious. Mainly, the age was very crisp, and it sounded very young. When everyone heard this, they immediately looked towards the flaming token in her hand. Flame Dragon. Flame Dragon Envoy? Ah, it's actually Lord Flame Dragon Envoy. How is this possible? Why would Lord Flame Dragon Envoy appear in Dragon Prison City? The two Lord Flame Dragon Envoys came with Kang Xinmu. Could it be that this Kang Xinmu's identity is actually so noble? Everyone couldn't help but be dumbfounded. No one could have imagined it. Holy Dragon Shi Tao, as well as the two sisters Shi Yueying and Shi Yutong, all had their mouths wide open, looking a little incredulous. Originally, Shi Tao had planned to risk his life to save Kang Xinmu, but he didn't expect that the situation would actually take a turn for the better. Kang Xinmu actually brought the two Lord Flame Dragon envoys here. Obviously, Kang Xinmu's current status was extraordinary, and in the previous year in the Yen Dragon Emperor's court, he must have obtained some extraordinary achievements, which was why he was like this. Now, the Flame Dragon envoys naturally stood on Kang Xinmu's side. Moreover, they had seen how arrogant and domineering Dragon King was, spoiling and pampering his son Zhao Tianji. Obviously, they would have a lot of opinions towards Quan Dragon King. From the fact that this Lord Flame Dragon Envoy had attacked and directly injured Quan Dragon King Zhao Wuwang, it could be seen that they did not have a good impression towards Quan Dragon King. With regards to Zhao Wuwang's attack, Kang Xinmu was also a little surprised. But now, the Dragon Envoys, Kang Xinmu and Envoy. Since they were willing to reveal their identities, it meant that they were willing to help Jiang Shenwu solve the problem that the Shi clan was facing. Therefore, Jiang Shenwu returned to his human form and quickly appeared in front of Shi Tao. Kang Xinmu, what's going on? Shi Tao looked at the black-cloaked man in the sky and the black-cloaked man in front of him. These two should be one of the 12 Flame Dragon envoys. In the entire Yen Dragon Emperor's court, they were second only to Yen Dragon Emperor. Not only their status, but more importantly, their strength. They were existences that could crush other ordinary Dragon Kings. For example, Dragon King Quan was seriously injured by the Flame Dragon Envoy in one move. Shi Tao was now full of doubts. Kang Xinmu smiled and said softly, "I've made you worry. These two are Lord Flame Dragon envoys. They escorted me all the way from the Yen Dragon Emperor's court back here. They are mainly here to bid farewell to you." Farewell? Hearing Kang Xinmu's words, Shi Tao was even more puzzled. However, he seemed to have understood the meaning behind Kang Xinmu's words. Kang Xinmu's return this time was only to bid farewell, and he was probably going somewhere else. In other words, encountering Dragon King Quan acting atrociously in the Shi clan mansion was a complete coincidence. In this way, if they were to encounter such a thing again in the future, it would be very difficult for their Shi clan mansion. But no matter what, Shi Tao only hoped that this matter would not implicate Kang Xinmu. Speaking of farewell, are you going somewhere? Shi Yueying was pleasantly surprised, but when he heard Kang Xinmu say goodbye, his heart darkened. I have to go to a relatively distant place to cultivate. Dragon Emperor Yen said that I have to go there in order to have a better cultivation development. Kang Xinmu nodded his head, and rejoiced. Fortunately, the 2 Lord Flame Dragon envoys came back with me. Otherwise, Dragon King Quan would have succeeded today. Thank you, Lord Flame Dragon Envoy, for helping us out. Shi Tao's etiquette was still very good. Even though he was heavily injured, he still bowed to the black-cloaked man in front of him. Because of this, he even coughed twice, but very quickly, he was lifted up by the Flame Dragon Envoy. No need to be so polite. Kang Xinmu's matter is our matter. The hoarse voice said indifferently. He was quite satisfied with Shi Tao. From the beginning, Shi Tao was the one who discovered Kang Xinmu. He was very clear about that, so he was also very clear about what the Shi clan mansion represented to Kang Xinmu. The Yen Dragon Envoy was currently considering how he could help with the matter of the Shi clan residents. They had not heard of the matter of the Dragon King dying in the hands of the Great Demon 7 days ago. After all, there were so many dragon regions in the entire Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty. The death of the Dragon King was not handled by the 2 of them, so they did not know about this news. Kang Xinmu's matter is Lord Flame Dragon Envoy's matter? Little did he know that when he said this, it immediately made the surrounding people feel as though they had fallen into hell. Their bodies turned gloomy and cold. Other than Shi Tao, Shi Yueying and Shi Yutong, the rest of them were on the side of Dragon King Quan just now. Now, the identity of the Flame Dragon Envoy was revealed, and he even said that he valued Kang Xinmu so much. Didn't this mean that the rest of them would be in big trouble this time? Lord Flame Dragon Envoy, please spare our lives. We were forced by this Dragon King Quan previously and had no choice but to listen to him. Otherwise, he would say that he would kill our entire family. One of the Shi clan mansion's elders immediately panicked and begged the Flame Dragon Envoy in front of Shi Tao. He was afraid that the Flame Dragon Envoy would throw them all into the abyss in a rage. After all, to the Flame Dragon Envoy, even the Dragon King Quan was a small fry. Why would he care about ordinary sacred dragon mansion elders like them? If the Flame Dragon Envoy really valued Kang Xinmu so much, just one word from Kang Xinmu and they would definitely be beheaded without any chance of survival. Therefore, someone saw the opportunity and immediately bowed down and began to beg. It had to be said that people really changed very quickly. Chapter 41:16. Naturally, the Flame Dragon Envoy did not believe the words of the Shi clan elders. It was only because of their identity as Flame Dragon Envoys that they were so subdued. Otherwise, Shi Yueying would have been forced to marry the Dragon King today. This was not a situation that the Flame Dragon Envoys wanted to see. After all, according to the rumors, Kang Xinmu and Shi Yueying had an ambiguous relationship. If Shi Yueying was really forced to be persecuted, Kang Xinmu would definitely be unhappy. Now, Kang Xinmu was a genius that the Dragon Emperor had taken a fancy to and wanted to send to Donghuang Yangwu College. It could be said that he would definitely become a powerhouse on the level of the Dragon Emperor in the future. Under such circumstances, it was not a wise choice to offend Kang Xinmu. In fact, the Flame Dragon Envoy was now thinking about how to stabilize Shi Yueying and the Shi clan residents so that he could tie Kang Xinmu to the Yen Dragon Emperor's court. As a powerhouse second only to the Yen Dragon Emperor in the Yen Dragon Emperor's court, the Flame Dragon Envoy was naturally qualified to know about Donghuang Yangwu College. Soon, the black-cloaked Flame Dragon Envoy in front of the Holy Dragon Shi Tao said in a hoarse voice, "Shi Yueying, are you willing to become my disciple? I am Dragon King Ming, one of the 12 flame dragon envoys. If you are willing to take me as your master, I will do my best to nurture you. This was the method that the flame dragon envoy, Dragon King Ming, thought of to help Kang Xinmu. To him, there was not much he could do, but if he wanted to protect the Shi clan residents, it was mainly Shi Tao and his 2 daughters. Therefore, Dragon King Ming decided to take Shi Yueying as his disciple first. This way, he could protect Shi Yueying. At the very least, people like the Dragon King would definitely not dare to have any ideas about Shi Yueying. Shi Yueying was also shocked by the identity of the black-cloaked man brought by Kang Xinmu. It turned out to be the flame dragon envoy. When she heard the words of the black-cloaked man, her heart started beating faster. Not to mention the flame dragon envoy, even if it was an ordinary Dragon King realm expert, wanting to take in a disciple would be a big deal. Shi Yueying never thought she would have such an opportunity. Furthermore, the opponent was one of the 12 flame dragon envoys, Dragon King. It was said that Dragon King Ming was the strongest among the 12 Yen dragon envoys. If she could become his disciple, wouldn't that mean that her master would be the one whose strength was second only to Yen dragon emperors? This was simply unbelievable to Shi Yueying. Therefore, for a moment, she wondered if she was dreaming and didn't know if she should agree. At this time, Kang Xinmu landed and stopped in front of Shi Yueying. He smiled and said to her, "Shi Yueying, rest assured. Since Lord Dragon King Ming wants to take you as his disciple, you just have to agree. In the future, follow Lord Dragon King Ming and cultivate well." Okay. When Shi Yueying heard Kang Xinmu's words, she finally reacted and quickly bowed to Dragon King Ming. Disciple Shi Yueying greets master. No need to be so polite. From today onwards, you will follow me to the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty. Dragon King Ming smiled and waved his hand. He didn't put on any airs in front of Shi Yueying. After all, he was very clear that if Shi Yueying could really become a couple with Kang Xinmu in the future, then as the master of Kang Xinmu's wife, his status would be quite honorable. The other flame dragon envoy, the woman with the clear voice, had also returned to her human form. She also threw the dispirited and listless Zhao Wuwang and Zhao Tianji over. "I am Dragon King K, one of the 12 Yen dragon envoys. Shi Yutong, become my disciple. I will do my best to train you. Your talent is not inferior to your sister's. Your future achievements will definitely not be low." The Magpie Dragon King's voice was crisp and clear. She didn't reveal her face, but just her voice alone was enough to make one imagine a delicate and beautiful face. This disciple Shi Yutong greets master. Shi Yutong was more quick-witted than Shi Yueying. After all, she had a lively personality. When such an opportunity came, she didn't need anyone to say anything. She grabbed it and immediately bowed to Dragon King K as a disciple. Seeing that the 2 Yen dragon envoys actually valued Shi Yueying and Shi Yutong so much and fought to take them as disciples, the surrounding people almost couldn't believe it. Was this still the senior Yen dragon envoy who was usually so high and mighty? Why did he look so easy to talk to? Could it be that all this was because of Kang Xinmu? They didn't know why. Of course, they didn't know that Kang Xinmu was about to leave the Yen Dragon Emperor Empire and go to the Donghuang Yangwu College, which had hundreds of Dragon Emperor empires in the east. Once he returned from Donghuang Yangwu College, although it would be at least a few years later, Kang Xinmu's cultivation realm would definitely be the best in the entire Yen Dragon Emperor Empire. And Shi Tao, as a holy dragon, you fought against a great demon not long ago. Since the Dragon King is already dead, you should prepare and try to see if you can improve in the Yen Dragon Sacred Tower and become the Dragon King's inheritance blood essence. If you succeed, the Dragon Prison Domain should be renamed. Everything will be up to you. Dragon King continued to speak. These words were directed at Shi Tao. Just like that, the two Yen Dragon envoys had already solved all the problems that the Shi clan residence was currently facing. The reason why the Dragon King dared to behave atrociously in the Shi clan residence was entirely because the Dragon King had died, and Shi Tao was only an ordinary holy dragon expert. But now, Shi Tao's daughters had become the disciples of the Yen Dragon envoy. He himself had also obtained the opportunity to become the Dragon King and have the opportunity to rename the Dragon Prison City and the Dragon Prison Domain. It wasn't that he hadn't thought about this opportunity before. He had even thought that if he became the Dragon King, the Dragon Domain and Dragon City under his management would be called Rain Dragon. Rain Dragon Domain and Rain Dragon City. This was the name he had thought of a long time ago. The reason why he used this name was naturally because his two most cherished daughters had the word Rain in their names. Thank you, Yen Dragon envoys. Cough cough. Holy Dragon Shi Tao was so excited that he couldn't help but cough again. Seeing this, the Dragon King's clear voice sounded out once again, "This is a healing pill personally refined by the Dragon Emperor Yen. Take it first, it should be able to help your injuries improve a little." After saying that, he threw a pill bottle over and caught it for Shi Tao to catch. Shi Tao caught the pill bottle and couldn't help but feel a little surprised. At the same time, he didn't know whether he should accept it or not. This pill was personally refined by the Dragon Emperor Yen. One could imagine how strong its healing effects were and how valuable it was. If he accepted it, Uncle Shi, just accept it. Kang Xinmu advised with a smile. If his injuries weren't healed, it would be almost impossible to pass through the first 3 levels of the Flame Dragon Sacred Tower. Chapter 41:17. Kang Xinmu was about to head to Donghuang Yangwu College. No matter what his future achievements were, he would never forget Holy Dragon Shi Tao, who had sheltered him back then. No matter what, Holy Dragon Shi Tao had helped Kang Xinmu a lot and was a good friend of his father, Jiang Zizai. Logically speaking, Kang Xinmu should repay him for protecting him. Therefore, today was the day Kang Xinmu repaid them. Jiang Xinwu didn't elaborate on the specifics, but Shi Tao could tell from the look in Jiang Xinwu's eyes. Good, I didn't expect that Shi Tao, was right about you, ha ha ha. Holy Dragon Shi Tao laughed. He had thought that today would be a sad day for the Shi clan, but he did not expect that today would be their lucky day. Seeing how proud Shi Tao was, and then looking at Shi Yueying and Shi Yutong, they were also very cute and excited. This made the elders of the Shi clan feel so regretful that they wanted to commit suicide. Although they still did not know what Kang Xinmu had achieved, there was no doubt that Kang Xinmu's status was completely different from before. As long as Kang Xinmu was around, the 2 Flame Dragon envoys would help protect the Shi clan residents. This was what made him so terrifying. With the protection of the Flame Dragon envoys, would the Shi clan residents not be able to develop? As for the people that Dragon King had brought with him, their faces were all ashen. However, they did not dare to run away. After all, where could they run to in front of the Flame Dragon envoys? Now that Dragon King had been defeated by Magpie Dragon King in one move, the people that Dragon King had brought with him could only prepare to listen to the Flame Dragon envoys' arrangements. After settling the matter with Shi Tao, the 2 Flame Dragon envoys naturally would not let Dragon King leave just like that. The Magpie Dragon King loosened his grip and pushed Quan Long Wang's body away, causing him to fall heavily onto the ground in the courtyard. This heavy fall caused him to wake up from his unconsciousness. Previously, Dragon King had defeated Dragon King in one move, which made him lose consciousness instantly after he realized that he had provoked a powerful being. Now that he had been thrown, he woke up and immediately jumped up. As for his son Zhao Tianji, who had also fallen behind him, he had already been shaken by Kang Xinmu's attack. He had been knocked unconscious by Dragon King and Dragon King. Now that Dragon King had thrown him, he had also woken up. There seemed to be stars in his eyes. When he opened his eyes, he found that the atmosphere in the entire courtyard had changed. Before Dragon King Quan had fainted, he had seen Dragon King take out the flaming token. So as soon as he woke up, he already knew what had happened. Although he did not know why the Flame Dragon envoys would stand on Kong Shinmu's side and help Kong Shinmu, there was no doubt that this time he, Dragon King Quan, had already been defeated. Two Flame Dragon envoys, today's matter is really not like what you have seen. Please listen to our explanation. Dragon King Quan hurriedly climbed up and begged the two Flame Dragon envoys to explain. Compared with the arrogant look he had before, when he even wanted to help his son Zhao Tianji kill Kong Shinmu, there was a world of difference. Because he was very clear about the authoritative position of the Flame Dragon envoys in the Dragon Emperor's court. It could be said that the appearance of the Flame Dragon envoys could be regarded as the arrival of the Dragon Emperor in person, who was the most powerful existence in the entire Dragon Emperor's court. How could Dragon King Quan not panic? You don't need to explain, we have already understood the matter here. Dragon King Quan shook his head and waved his hand casually. Why don't you quickly take your people and go back to Quan Long Yu? For the time being, it will not affect you when you go back to Quan Long Yu to be a local tyrant. But if I find that you bully people like this next time, I will give up the title of Dragon King. Thank you, Flame Dragon envoys, thank you, Flame Dragon envoys. Hearing this, Dragon King Quan hurriedly bowed twice, then pulled his confused son Zhao Tianji behind him, turned around and quickly left the Shi mansion. Zhao Tianji could be said to have lost to Kong Shinmu in the previous duel, which made him lose face. After all, he was at the 4th level of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm. How could he lose to a boy at the 9th level of the Divine Martial Realm? However, thinking that Kong Shinmu's essence and blood inheritance was at the level of the Holy Dragon, he was relieved. After all, he was the youngest Holy Dragon expert of the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty, right? In any case, Zhao Wuwang left with Zhao Tianji, and the other people of Quan Long Yu, including the Holy Dragon, also turned around and left. They did not dare to make a fool of themselves here. Previously, they were all standing on the opposite side of the Shi mansion. Now, they could not immediately turn around and compliment the Shi mansion, right? After leaving the Shi mansion, Dragon King Quan and his son Zhao Tianji finally learned from their subordinates that in order to help the Shi mansion, the Flame Dragon envoys had actually accepted disciples, and even let the Holy Dragon Shi Tao go to the Holy Tower to participate in the test and try to break through to the realm of the Dragon King. After hearing this news, Dragon King Quan almost vomited blood. He did not know what went wrong at all. That Kong Shinmu had clearly not come out of the Holy Tower for a year, but when he came out, he actually became a Holy Dragon and had such a good relationship with the Flame Dragon envoys. This obviously made the Flame Dragon Emperor think highly of him. For the time being, there is no need to pay attention to them. Let's see if that Shi Tao can become the Dragon King. Dragon King Quan's eyes were gloomy, and he did not dare to cause any trouble for the time being. After all, after this, the Flame Dragon envoys would definitely focus on the Quan Long Yu where he was, and it would be difficult for him to protect himself. As for Zhao Tianji's plan to forcefully marry Shi Yueying, it could be said that this plan was completely ruined. Originally, Shi Yueying's identity was ordinary, and he could completely bully her. But now, if he still wanted to get his hands on Shi Yueying's master, Ming Dragon King, would probably uproot the entire region where he and his father lived. There would be no place for him to reason with them. This was the deterrence brought about by strength. After this incident, Dragon King Quan and the others would definitely not dare to do anything to the Shi clan residents. In fact, the Shi clan residence was very likely to become the Dragon King residence in the future. From a Holy Dragon to a Dragon King, it was an extremely important transformation, and many dragon martial artists would not even have such an opportunity in their lifetime. Originally, with Shi Tao's ability, it was still possible for him to get this opportunity a few years later, but now, under the influence of his relationship with Kong Shinmu, it could be said that he had gotten this opportunity a few years in advance. After the Dragon King Quan fled with his people, Shi Tao finally breathed a sigh of relief in the Shi clan residence. Chapter 41:18. Outside the Dragon Prison City, a few young dragon martialists flew in the direction of the Shi clan residence. In the distance, they seemed to see a few figures of nobles fleeing in a sorry state. They seemed to have seen them before. Are those the Dragon King Quan and the others? I don't know. No matter what, let's go back and take a look. One of them was one of the sons of the holy dragon Shi Tao. He had always been training outside and had been assigned to a region that the Shi clan was in charge of. He was in charge of the local city and was responsible for the safety of the city. When he heard that the Dragon King Quan had gone to the Shi clan residence aggressively and wanted to force his sister to marry that guy's playboy son, he rushed back from the city as fast as he could. However, as soon as he returned with his trusted aides, he saw people pointing at those familiar figures along the way. Their words seemed to be extremely puzzled, and he didn't know what exactly had happened. Soon, they returned to the Shi clan residence. When they arrived at the entrance of the residence, they were still a little confused. Didn't they say that the situation was urgent? Why did it seem like the onlookers outside were whispering, as if something big had happened in the Shi clan residence? After entering the residence, they saw Shi Tao, Shi Yueying, and Shi Yutong sitting in the hall resting. "Dad, Yueying, Yutong, how are you? Where are the Dragon King Quan and the others?" A few young men rushed in anxiously. Although it was useless for them to come back, they still wanted to contribute their strength at this moment. "You're late." Shi Tao glanced at them and smiled. Kong Shinmu just came over and brought 2 flame dragon envoys. The 2 flame dragon envoys will soon bring your 2 sisters to the flame dragon emperor's court and become their disciples. As for me, I got a chance to step into the flame dragon sacred tower and try to become a dragon king. Huh? How could this be? This news instantly caused the few young men to be dumbstruck, and they slightly didn't dare to believe it. That's the truth. There's something even more shocking. Shi Yutong giggled. "Brother, do you know what grade of divine dragon blood Kong Shinmu has now? He really became a divine dragon." It said that after continuously challenging the flame dragon sacred tower for a year, he passed the 5th floor and finally obtained an increase in essence blood. Divine dragon. The few young men were stunned on the spot, unable to believe it at all. How old was Kong Shinmu? He had already become a divine dragon. This probably didn't even exist in the entire Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty. I didn't expect that we would be a step too late and miss the good show of Dragon King running away with his tail between his legs. Shi Tao's son burst into laughter. Since the Shi clan's mansion was fine, he was relieved. At the same time, he was even more interested in Kong Shinmu, whom he had never met before. But he also knew that Kong Shinmu was already an inheritor of the divine dragon's essence blood, and had probably far surpassed his level. To be valued so highly by the flame dragon envoy, Dragon Emperor, his future was bound to be limitless. Not only Kong Shinmu, I'm afraid even Yueying and Yutong, you 2 girls, will improve faster than me in the future. The young man smiled helplessly. However, his smile was filled with extreme joy. "Right, what about Kong Shinmu and the 2 flame dragon envoys?" he asked hurriedly. "They've already left. They said they wanted to return to the Jiang clan to bid their final farewell. As for where Kong Shinmu is going, none of us know," Shi Tao said. "They've already gone back?" The young man couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. He didn't expect that he would still be late despite rushing back in a hurry. This time, he had really missed a good show. I hope I can still see him in the future. That was all he could think. Dragon King Ming and Dragon King K had already brought Kong Shinmu back to Great Jiang Dragon City at an extremely fast speed. The matter at the Shi clan residence had already been settled, so they naturally didn't need to worry about anything else happening. In the entire Yen Dragon Emperor's court, no one had the guts to provoke the Shi clan residents. After all, there were 2 new disciples of the Flame Dragon envoys, and a future Dragon King. Most importantly, the attention of the Flame Dragon envoys was the attention of Yen Dragon Emperor. If they wanted to harm the Shi clan residents, they didn't want to stay in the Yen Dragon Emperor's court any longer. Therefore, Kong Shinmu prepared to return to the Jiang clan with the 2 Flame Dragon envoys. Originally, Kong Shinmu wanted to return by himself. After all, there shouldn't be any accidents happening at the Jiang clan. As for the 2 Flame Dragon envoys, they could first bring Shi Yueying and Shi Yutong back to the Yen Dragon Emperor's court. However, Yen Dragon Emperor ordered them to safely escort Kong Shinmu out of the Yen Dragon Emperor's court. If there was a chance, they would even escort him all the way to Donghuang Yangwu College. Only then would Dragon Emperor be at ease. After all, although Kong Shinmu was extremely talented, his cultivation level was still too low. If he were to encounter any accidents on the way, it would be terrible. Therefore, the 2 Flame Dragon envoys did not bring anyone back, but insisted on traveling with Kong Shinmu. Originally, Kong Shinmu had spent a few months escaping from the Jiang clan to the center of the Dragon Prison Domain, Dragon Prison City. But now, under the lead of the Flame Dragon envoys, they had only spent 1 or 2 days to return to the Jiang clan from Dragon Prison City. However, when they got closer to Jiang Longcheng, the 3 of them felt an uncomfortable aura. It was as if there was a smell of blood floating in the air. It came from a direction not far from Jiang Dragon City, causing Kong Shinmu's expression to change slightly. He could almost feel the traces of an intense battle in the air. There was a battle here, and it wasn't of a low level. Dragon King's hoarse voice came out. He was experienced, so he could not be wrong. Quickly, let's go check out the situation in Jiang Dragon City. Dragon King's figure suddenly sped up, turning into a beam of light. In an instant, he disappeared from Kong Shinmu's sight. Without a doubt, this was the super speed of Dragon King as a Flame Dragon envoy. But when he was bringing Kong Shinmu along, this speed was not suitable. Otherwise, it would only take a few hours to return from Dragon Prison City to Jiang Dragon City. The closer they got to Jiang Dragon City, the more nervous Kong Shinmu became. In the Jiang clan, although there were many Nirvana Tribulation Realm Dragon warriors, their cultivation levels were not too high, and they did not have any inherited blood essence of the Sky Dragon or above. Chapter 41:19. Kong Shinmu was nervous. The Jiang tribe was his starting point. His mother, Gu Yuero, was still in Great Jiang Dragon City. If anything were to happen to her, he would not be able to forgive himself. Soon, the Flame Dragon envoy, Dragon King, returned after investigating the situation. Her voice turned cold. In front of us was a battle between several tribes over a mine's resources. This mine's resources were discovered to be within the Jiang tribe's territory, but it attracted the covetous eyes of several nearby tribes. They even joined forces to force the Jiang tribe to hand over the mine's resources. There's such a thing? Dragon King muttered, this battle seems to have caused quite a number of casualties. Let's go take a look. Within the Yen Dragon Emperor's court, it was divided according to territory. Initially, it was divided into the Dragon Domain, and then into different Dragon Warrior tribes. Every Dragon Warrior tribe's property in their territory belonged to the Dragon Warrior tribe. So, according to reason, since the mine's resources were discovered in the Jiang tribe, they belonged to the Jiang tribe. But now, the nearby tribes saw that the Jiang tribe was weak, so they joined forces to divide the mine's resources. One must know that there were many materials used to refine dragon weapons in the mine, and there were even some special resources that could be used to refine secret cultivation medicines. Many treasures grew in the mines that never saw the light of day, so it was easy to dig out some good stuff. These things, by right, belonged to the Jiang tribe. If other tribes coveted the property, it would be a violation of the rules. For example, in the Dragon Prison domain, the Dragon King of Dragon Prison City and many sacred dragon experts were in charge of this matter. No one was allowed to cross the line. Now that the Dragon King had died in an accident, and the Dragon Emperor Xia Yan had betrayed the Yen Dragon Emperor's court, and the sacred dragon Shitao was facing the threat of the Dragon King, there was no one to manage the Jiang tribe's affairs. A cold light flashed in Kang Xinmu's eyes. He followed the two flame dragon envoys, and flew towards the location of the mine at the fastest speed. Of course, the two flame dragon envoys took the initiative to bring Kang Xinmu, mainly so that he could rush back as soon as possible. After all, they knew that Kang Xinmu must be burning with anxiety. Soon, they arrived at a mountain range covered in forests. This mountain range belonged to the Jiang tribal clan's territory, and was only slightly closer to the neighboring Ji tribal clan. Currently, the nearby air was filled with the smell of fresh blood. It was obvious that a rather intense battle had taken place here, and there might even be many casualties. And the ones with the most casualties were naturally the Jiang clan's dragon warriors. It wasn't that the Jiang tribal clan's dragon warriors were weak, but the Jiang tribal clan could not do anything if the nearby tribes joined forces to oppress the Jiang tribal clan. Soon, the three of them descended from the sky above the dense forest. Below the dense forest, in the middle of the mountain range, there was an open space. At this moment, there was a large number of dragon warriors, at least a few hundred of them, gathered together. They were clearly divided into several camps. One of the camps seemed to have the least number of people, and everyone seemed to be injured. It was the Jiang tribal clan's dragon warriors. After Jiang Rong had been taken away by Kang Xinmu, he had never returned. And after that, the Jiang tribal clan elected a new patriarch. This patriarch would temporarily hold the position of patriarch until Jiang Liushue's cultivation level rose to the Nirvana Tribulation realm. Only then would he give the position to Jiang Liushue. In the Jiang tribal clan, the strongest were only the inheritors of the heavenly dragon's blood essence, and they were two older dragon warriors. They were now in the late stages of the Nirvana Tribulation realm, and had yet to step into the Rebirth Tribulation realm. As for the other Ji tribal clans, there were quite a number of such existences. Just based on the number of Nirvana Tribulation realm dragon warriors, the Jiang tribal clan had less than 20. But which of the other dragon warrior tribes did not have 30 to 40 Nirvana Tribulation realm dragon warriors? Although the Jiang tribal clan had obtained a lot of cultivation resources in the previous clan tournament, the transformation of cultivation resources into strength was a slow process. With so many cultivation resources, although they had cultivated 2 new Nirvana Tribulation realm dragon warriors, the Jiang tribal clan had been weak for many years. It was not something that could be changed in such a short period of time. As a result, the Jiang tribal clan had relied on their willpower to fight for the mine's resources. They did not give in no matter what, but they still suffered heavy losses. Although no dragon warriors died, there were too many who were seriously injured. In the crowd, Kang Xinmu saw the other party's identity. Under the leadership of Ji Yeshuan, the Ji tribal clan was aggressive. They were the most powerful force in forcing the Jiang tribal clan to hand over the mine's resources. The Meng tribal clan and the Zong tribal clan were 2 of the more powerful tribes in the clan tournament. Now, they had also participated in the Jiang tribal clan's mining resources. And there was another tribe, the Gu tribal clan. The Gu tribal clan's dragon warriors cultivated more body-tempering dragon martial techniques. Now, they had also come to fight for the resources. The mine was one of the few rich mines in the Jiang tribal clan. If they could occupy it, it would allow the Jiang tribal clan to have 10 more Nirvana Tribulation realm dragon warriors in 10 years. Combined with the cultivation resources obtained from the clan tournament, the Jiang tribal clan's long-term weakness would be improved, and they might even surpass the other tribes. So, the four neighboring tribes were envious. On one hand, they wanted the mine's resources, and on the other hand, they wanted to suppress the Jiang tribal clan's development. Many of the young geniuses of the Meng tribal clan and the Zong tribal clan had died in the war against the northern Chill Dragon country. Among them were Meng Chou and others. Some had even died in the hands of Kong Shinmu. There were also those who had been taken away with the son of the sacred dragon Xia Yan and never returned. They wanted to bully the Jiang tribal clan and avenge their deaths. It was unrealistic to seek revenge from Kong Shinmu, but the Jiang tribal clan could not escape. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the battle for the mine's resources came into being. At this moment, the Jiang tribal clan had suffered a crushing defeat. Many of the dragon warriors were dejected. Their eyes were filled with anger, but they did not dare to speak. As for the dragon warriors of the other four clans, they were in a state of mutual hostility. Obviously, they had already seized the resources of the mine. However, how to distribute them was also a big problem. After all, the four tribes were not equally strong. They had occupied the mine's resources, so it was impossible for them to distribute evenly. There were many benefits involved, so it could only be resolved by strength. And now, it was time for the four tribes to fight for the distribution. Chapter 41-20. When Kong Shinmu and the two flame dragon envoys descended, the four dragon warrior tribes were discussing how to distribute the resources of the mine in the future. Seeing three people suddenly appear in front of them, everyone was startled. Especially since they came without a sound. Although the identities of two of them were unknown, they were definitely extremely powerful dragon warriors. But the person in the lead made them a little surprised. Wasn't this the Jiang clan martial competition, the one who won first place in the clan martial competition by challenging their tribe's new generation genius with absolute strength? Wasn't this the Jiang clan's Kong Shinmu? Why is Kong Shinmu here? Hasn't he been missing for a year? It's really strange. At this time, the ownership of the mine's resources has already been decided. What's the meaning of him bringing people here? No matter what, how can a mere Kong Shinmu change our decision regarding the mine's resources? They all looked serious. Although they recognized Kong Shinmu and guessed that Kong Shinmu was definitely here to cause trouble, they didn't care. After all, to them, Kong Shinmu was just a junior. A junior who hadn't reached the Nirvana Tribulation realm wouldn't be able to affect them. As for the two flame dragon envoys, although they didn't know their identities, they were still a little afraid of them. After all, they weren't like the Dragon King, who had an extremely powerful existence. These tribes were usually more cautious when dealing with people. To the Dragon King, the only people who could completely suppress him in the entire Yen Dragon Emperor's court were the Yen Dragon Emperor and the 12 Flame Dragon Envoys. But to the dragon warriors of these tribes, there were too many people who could suppress them. Therefore, it was necessary for them to be cautious. Kong Shinmu, what are you doing? Suddenly, someone stood up. It was an elder from the Meng tribal tribe. He was now an inheritor of the heavenly dragon blood essence at the 5th level of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. He was one of the elders of the Meng tribal tribe and also one of the leaders of the Meng tribal tribe. In the various large clans under the Dragon Prison domain, the peak combat strength was basically at the 7th or 8th level of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. There were also many weaker clans whose strongest experts were only at the 5th or 6th level of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. Dragon warriors who had surpassed the Nirvana Tribulation realm would basically only appear in the main cities of the Dragon domain. For example, Holy Dragon Shitao, Holy Dragon Xia Yan, and so on. These Holy Dragon level powerhouses were not too young, and their talent was also extremely high. It was normal for them to reach the Samsara Tribulation realm. Therefore, it was already quite amazing that Dragon King's son, Zhao Tianji, was able to reach the 4th level of the Nirvana Tribulation stage at such a young age. However, he was still inferior to Kang Xinmu's current strength. Now that Kang Xinmu had arrived here, the leaders of the Meng tribe, Ji tribe, Zong tribe, and Gu tribe were all elders at the 5th level of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. Kang Xinmu had previously defeated Zhao Tianji, who was at the 4th level of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. And Zhao Tianji, compared to these tribal elders, was definitely stronger. Not to mention the grade 2 dragon martial skill, even the dragon-level dragon weapon in his hand was extremely difficult to find. Therefore, Kang Xinmu was completely confident that he could defeat all the elders present one by one. He did not even need the Yen dragon envoy to make a move. Therefore, when the Meng tribe elder stood up and asked Kang Xinmu smiled faintly and did not answer him. Instead, he quickly returned to the crowd of the Jiang tribe. He saw that the new patriarch of the Jiang tribe seemed to have suffered some serious internal injuries. His breathing was a bit hurried, and there were 2 younger members of the Jiang tribe taking care of him. There were also a few warriors of the Jiang tribe, all covered in wounds, resting in the crowd. Among them, Jiang Liuxue seemed to have experienced some battles. Although she was in a sorry state, she was not injured. It was unknown who she had fought with. Kang Xinmu. Jiang Liuxue saw Kang Xinmu, and could not help but feel a little excited and expectant. She was originally filled with righteous indignation about the mine being robbed, but her cultivation level was only at the 9th level of the divine martial realm, and she had not yet stepped into the Nirvana Tribulation realm. Who was it that injured you? Kang Xinmu's expression turned cold as he directly asked. Ji Yeshuan. Before Jiang Liuxue could speak, a middle-aged man of the Jiang tribe next to her clutched his chest and hatefully said that Ji Yeshuan was originally a genius of the Ji tribe. Last year, she stepped into the Nirvana Tribulation realm. With the power of Nirvana, she fought Jiang Liuxue and barely won. But now she is so overbearing and arrogant. How infuriating. Ji Yeshuan. Kang Xinmu knew what was going on and nodded. He was very clear about Jiang Liuxue's battle strength. In the year that he was in the sacred tower of the fire dragon, Jiang Liuxue had also reached the 9th level of the divine martial realm. In terms of cultivation level, she had caught up to Kang Xinmu. Unfortunately, in terms of battle strength, she was still far from Kang Xinmu. As for that Ji Yeshuan, when Kang Xinmu had just awakened to become a dragon warrior, she was already a genius. She had stepped into the path of the dragon warrior several years earlier than him. Now, she had just stepped into the Nirvana Tribulation realm, but her talent was absolutely high. If she reached the age of Dragon King son Zhao Tianji, and had the same resources, she might even be stronger than Zhao Tianji. Kang Xinmu, how dare you ignore us? Do you not put our tribes in your eyes? That Meng tribe elder saw that Kang Xinmu did not respond to his question, and immediately became angry out of humiliation. He coldly snorted and fiercely shouted. Although they were afraid of the 2 black-cloaked men that Kang Xinmu had brought with him, they would not allow themselves to be ignored by the younger generation. As elders, where would their face go? As for that Ji Yeshuan, she had already grown up. She looked like a beauty. Her skin was as smooth as jade, and her hair was like a waterfall. Her eyes were intelligent, as if there was elegance flickering in them. She was slender and elegant, with a pair of snow-white long legs and a rather large chest. Coupled with that cold and exquisite face, she was already a beauty that could cause the downfall of a city. She looked at Kang Xinmu with great interest. She looked at this youth who had surprised her at the clan tournament. She had only heard that Kang Xinmu had been invited to the Yen Dragon Emperor's court, but he had disappeared for a year. She did not know how strong this youth was now. Once upon a time, she was high and mighty. She was also a little curious about Kang Xinmu. But Kang Xinmu had not appeared for a long time. Her curiosity about Kang Xinmu had long been extinguished, and she had already stepped into the Nirvana Tribulation realm. In the Ji tribe, the strongest person was only at the 7th stage of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. With the talent she had shown, sooner or later she would step into the Nirvana Tribulation realm and lead the G tribe to glory. Cultivation resources were extremely important. Therefore, she would definitely try her best to compete for the resources in the mine. So she also stood up and said to Kang Xinmu coldly, "The youth of the past has now grown up. But regarding the resources in the mine, you can't change anything even if you come. Why don't you introduce us to these two seniors?" Chapter 41-21. Kang Xinmu did not mind her mature tone. After all, Ji Yeshuan was a rare genius of the Ji tribe. Although she was about the same age as Kang Xinmu, when Kang Xinmu had awakened to become a dragon warrior, Kang Xinmu was still a child. Therefore, it was normal for Ji Yeshuan to be mature. When they first met, Kang Xinmu had just awakened to become a dragon warrior. He had gone out to train and encountered a powerful demon beast, and she had casually saved him. Later on, when Xue Tianhu had escaped, Kang Xinmu had helped her enter a dangerous place to search for her. In the end, he had taken away the Qitian spirit grass from Xue Tianhu's mouth, and he had faked his death. Later on, they met again in Dragon Prison City. Kang Xinmu and Ji Yeshuan seemed to have some fate between them. Therefore, Kang Xinmu did not want to embarrass Ji Yeshuan too much. But today, she had come to the Jiang tribe and attacked Jiang Liuxue. This was something that Kang Xinmu could not tolerate. "Ji Yeshuan, cut the crap. Now, take your Ji tribe people and leave, and I will pretend that nothing has happened." Kang Xinmu turned his head and stood in front of the Jiang tribe's dragon warriors. He looked at Ji Yeshuan and said in a low voice. To him, today, he would sweep this place clean. But for Ji Yeshuan, he could let her go. After all, this young dragon warrior had once saved his life, and he had never had the chance to repay her. Today's matter should be able to settle the score between them. Hearing that not only did Kang Xinmu ignore her question, but he even wanted her to leave, Ji Yeshuan frowned. "Young man, you seem to have become very confident. To make us leave, you must show us your strength." Ji Yeshuan said lightly, glancing at the direction of the two flame dragon envoys. "Or, the two seniors you brought are very strong. You want us to leave obediently?" She was still afraid of the two black-cloaked men. She felt that they were extremely strong. In fact, the others in the field were also very afraid of them. After all, they couldn't feel the strength of the two flame dragon envoys. However, Kang Xinmu shook his head. "Now that I'm here, I won't borrow your power. It won't be difficult for me to defeat all of you. I don't care what rules you set before. Today, I've decided that as long as one of you can defeat me, I'll turn around and leave. I won't care about what happens here today." His words shocked all the dragon martial artists in the area. The dragon warriors of the Jiang clan were originally extremely dispirited, but when Kang Xinmu brought people over, a glimmer of hope emerged in their hearts. However, as soon as Kang Xinmu said this, their hopes seemed to be shattered. What was Kang Xinmu talking about? Any random person could defeat him, and he would just leave and not care about what happened here. Does he know that the strongest among the elders of the other tribe are at the 5th level of the Nirvana Tribulation realm? Even that Ji Yeshuan was at the 2nd level of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. And the Ji tribe also had a powerful elder at the 5th level of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. He was protecting Ji Yeshuan, but the general decisions were made by Ji Yeshuan. The 5th level of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. What level was that? Did Kang Xinmu know? Even though Kang Xinmu was a genius of the Jiang clan, and he was here to help Kang Xinmu, some of the dragon warriors of the Jiang clan were still quite unhappy with his words. It was obvious that he was trying to avoid responsibility. Defeat the elder at the 5th level of the Nirvana Tribulation realm? How was that possible? Any one of them could completely defeat Kang Xinmu, as for the elders of the 4 major tribes, they all laughed out loud. What they did today was unreasonable. After all, it was a violation of the customary rules of the Yen Dragon Emperor's dynasty. However, if Kang Xinmu wanted to defeat so many of them with his own strength, it was absolutely impossible. Kang Xinmu had not even reached the Nirvana Tribulation realm. What qualifications did he have to challenge so many of them? They didn't even need to fight one by one. Any elder of the tribe could beat Kang Xinmu to the ground, right? But since Kang Xinmu said so, it was easy. They were originally worried about the 2 people that Kang Xinmu had brought. Since Kang Xinmu said that he didn't need them, then the 4 major tribes didn't need to worry about their existence. Ji Yishuan was also surprised. She didn't expect Kang Xinmu to be so arrogant. She immediately laughed. In that case, let me fight first. When I saw you fight at the clan tournament, I knew that your innate ability of devouring is tyrannical and powerful. I just don't know how strong you are now. Ji Yishuan stood out. She had already defeated Jiang Liuxue. Although Jiang Liuxue had improved a lot in the past 2 years, she had still easily defeated him. This proved that she, Ji Yishuan, was the #1 genius of the younger generation among the many tribes in the Dragon Prison domain. However, if she wanted this title, she obviously had to defeat Kang Xinmu. She felt that no matter what, Kang Xinmu would be stronger than Jiang Liuxue. Perhaps he was qualified to be her opponent. After all, his devouring power was quite miraculous. It doesn't matter who comes. Even if it's you elders, if you come out and fight me, I will accept your challenge. Kang Xinmu's expression was indifferent as he stood in the open space in the middle of the crowd. This open space was quite vast. It was specially prepared for the battles between their tribes. Previously, Jiang Liuxue had been defeated by Ji Yishuan on this open space and had suffered serious injuries. It would take at least a few days for him to recover. Of course, now that Kang Xinmu was here, there was no need for that. Once the people of these tribes were driven away, Kang Xinmu would only need to use the monster core to quickly heal all their injuries. Kang Xinmu stood out, and so did Ji Yishuan. It had to be said that although Ji Yishuan was looking forward to this battle, Kang Xinmu's bold words made the other dragon warriors of the 4 tribes feel quite disdainful. Especially in the Ji tribe. This time, besides Ji Yishuan and the 5th-tier Nirvana Tribulation Elder, there were many dragon warriors of the God Martial Realm and even the Dragon Ascension Realm. They worshipped thrifty selection. Now, a weak young man of the Jiang tribe had actually said that he wanted to challenge the genius of their tribe, Ji Yishuan. Without a doubt, these people felt extremely disdainful. A mere boy of the God Martial Realm wants to challenge the genius of our Ji tribe? He's overestimating himself. Too naive. Does he really think that just because he has been summoned by Dragon Emperor Yen, he can cross 2 levels of cultivation to fight? In his dreams. Let us, the Ji tribe, crush this boy's dreams. All of them shouted Ji Yishuan's name. There was no doubt that Ji Yishuan had become a kind of faith to them. Chapter 41-22. Ji Yishuan stood up, wanting to be Kang Xinmu's first opponent. Kang Xinmu did not want to embarrass his opponent, but since Ji Yishuan wanted to fight him, he would naturally agree and satisfy her wishes. Since that's the case, let's fight first. But let me make it clear, if you lose this battle, you will leave with your Ji tribe. Kang Xinmu walked out, staring at the slender and elegant girl, Ji Yishuan, and said calmly. That's not the case. Ji Yishuan gave a smile that could topple cities. You said it yourself, as long as one of us defeats you, you will not care about today's matter. So, even if I lose to you, our Ji tribe will not leave this place. She did not have 100% confidence in defeating Kang Xinmu. This made many of the dragon warriors of the Ji tribe lose face. But they quickly began discussing, comforting themselves. After all, this Kong Shinmu was rumored to have been summoned by Dragon Emperor Yan. Maybe he has some tricks up his sleeves. It's normal that we, Ji Yeshuan, are no match for him. Since Ji Yeshuan had said so, Kong Shinmu could not change her mind. He could tell that Ji Yeshuan did not have 100% confidence in defeating him, but she still stood up to fight him. It was obvious that Ji Yeshuan wanted to use him as a stepping stone, to strengthen her determination to improve her cultivation. As long as she defeated him, no one in the younger generation of the Dragon Prison domain would be able to compare to her. Many years later, she would definitely be able to step into the Dragon Prison city in the center of the Dragon Prison domain. She could even bring the entire Ji tribe there, and make it the sacred dragon residence. But unfortunately, Kong Shinmu knew very well that Ji Yeshuan was no match for him. He also stood up, standing in the open space. At this moment, the Meng tribal clan, the Zong tribal clan, and the Gu tribal clan had about 200 dragon warriors. All of them were looking at the arena with a mocking expression. There were even people who ridiculed Ji Yeshuan, saying that if she didn't have the confidence to defeat Kong Shinmu, then she should just get off the stage first. There was competition between them and the Ji tribe. That was because of the division of resources in the mine. There was a disagreement. So if Ji Yeshuan lost to Kong Shinmu, then in the distribution of resources, the Ji tribe would definitely be at a disadvantage. They were all watching a joke now. Regardless of whether Kong Shinmu or Ji Yeshuan won, it wouldn't do them any harm. Of course, they didn't think that Ji Yeshuan would lose to Kong Shinmu. They just felt that Ji Yeshuan was making a big fuss over a minor issue. Since Kong Shinmu wanted to settle this matter by himself, it was impossible. If any of the elders were sent to fight, wouldn't this Kong Shinmu be forced to retreat with his tail between his legs? However, since there was a good show to watch, they didn't have any objections. All of them crossed their arms and stood at the side, pointing and discussing. In the field, Kong Shinmu and Ji Yeshuan stood facing each other. There was no need for anyone to remind them to start. With just a glance, the two of them roared, and the divine dragon blood essence in their bodies surged. Immediately, two divine dragons appeared in the field. At this moment, everyone in the field was dumbfounded. They had seen Ji Yeshuan's divine dragon body before. It was the inherited blood essence of a divine dragon of the sky dragon level. A snow-white divine dragon with the talent of a spiritual beast. It had the spiritual ability to tame other demonic beasts. The appearance of the 100 Zhonglong snow-white divine dragon caused the temperature of the field to drop. But compared to Ji Yeshuan's 100 Zhonglong dragon body, the black divine dragon that appeared in front of her was actually 100 Zhonglong, divine dragon's inherited blood essence. In the field, everyone was shocked and cheered. Divine dragon expert. How could such a powerful divine dragon's blood essence appear in Kong Shinmu's body? He was just a poor kid from the Jiang tribal clan. Although his father was a genius, he shouldn't be this talented, right? Back in his prime, Jiang Zizai was only in the 8th or 9th tier of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. But he only had the inherited blood essence of a sky dragon, and he was already in his 30s. But now, Kong Shinmu had obtained a divine dragon's inherited blood essence? Wasn't this many times more terrifying than Jiang Zizai? Kong Shinmu was not even 20 years old. Terrifying, extremely terrifying. In the Yan Dragon Emperor dynasty, he could be said to be the youngest divine dragon's inheritor in history. At the same time, he could be said to be the divine dragon's inheritor with the lowest cultivation level. How is this possible? The most shocked were the many dragon warriors of the Jiang tribal clan. Originally, they thought that Kong Shinmu was joking. As long as they defeated him, he wouldn't care about what happened here. There were so many tribal elders present, any one of them could defeat him, right? But now, in the hearts of the Jiang tribal clan, there was a sudden burst of hope. Kang Shinmu has always been a person who creates miracles. At the clan tournament, we have already seen his strength. Who would have thought that he has become a divine dragon's inheritor? Too powerful. This 300-foot divine dragon body, even though he is only in the 9th tier of the divine martial realm and not yet in the nirvana tribulation realm, his talent is like a volcanic eruption, surpassing Ji Yeshuan's. Even though Ji Yeshuan has the power of nirvana, in terms of momentum, she is far inferior to Kang Shinmu. Perhaps, there really isn't anyone here who is a match for Kang Shinmu. The dragon warriors of the Jiang tribal clan suddenly became excited. Jiang Liuxue's eyes revealed a hint of relief, but also a hint of frustration. She now knew that the distance between her and Kang Shinmu had widened. Originally, when she saw that Kang Shinmu had returned a year later and was still in the 9th tier of the divine martial realm, she thought that she had caught up with Kang Shinmu. But now, it seemed that in this year, Kang Shinmu had been raising the grade of the divine dragon blood essence, so his cultivation had not broken through to the nirvana tribulation realm. But without a doubt, the increase in the grade of the divine dragon blood essence was of great significance to the dragon warriors, far exceeding the increase in cultivation from breaking through to the nirvana tribulation realm. Divine dragon, shocking the world. Ji Yeshuan had transformed into a divine dragon. Her snow-white dragon body's eyes were now filled with deep shock. She was a genius of the Ji tribal clan. Her goal had always been to become the inheritor of the divine dragon blood essence in a few decades. Then, in her middle age, she would lead the Ji tribal clan into Dragon Prison City. And she would become someone like the divine dragon Shi Tao or the divine dragon Xia Yan. But now, Kang Shinmu had already walked ahead of her, and had walked ahead of her for decades. 10 years? 20 years? Within 20 years, Ji Yeshuan had no confidence in attaining the divine dragon blood essence. Chapter 41-23. The battle was on the verge of breaking out. Ji Yeshuan watched as Kang Shinmu transformed into the body of the sacred dragon blood essence, her dragon eyes filled with extreme seriousness. Originally, she was only a little afraid of Kang Shinmu. After all, he had been summoned by Dragon Emperor Yan. Perhaps he had cultivated some powerful dragon martial technique or obtained some powerful dragon weapon. But now, her seriousness for this battle had reached an unprecedented level. Because of the sacred dragon blood essence. In her heart, how much did she desire to obtain this sacred dragon blood essence? In this regard, Kang Shinmu was already ahead of her. This made her grit her teeth, very unwilling. Why did Kang Shinmu get such an opportunity? She knew that Kang Shinmu had exposed the rebellion plot of the sacred dragon Xia Yan in the battlefield against the northern Chill Dragon country, but wasn't the reward that Yan Dragon Emperor had given him too high? But she did not know that even if such an opportunity was given to her, she could not be like Kang Shinmu, successfully passing the 5th floor of the Flame Dragon's sacred tower and obtaining the sacred dragon blood essence. No one in the entire Yan Dragon Emperor dynasty had ever been able to do so, let alone Ji Yeshuan. Although Ji Yeshuan was a genius of the Ji tribe, she was only within the boundaries of the Dragon Prison domain. For the Dragon Prison domain, she was a seed with the potential to become a sacred dragon expert in the future. But it was not certain that she would be able to succeed in the end. Everything depended on luck and will. Many key things could not be decided by talent alone. For example, although Jiang Liuxue's talent was slightly worse than Ji Yeshuan's, she had been catching up very quickly in recent years. In the previous battle, she had even been able to exchange several dragon martial techniques with Ji Yeshuan. Silver Plume Bird. In the next moment, Ji Yeshuan unleashed her innate ability, causing 2 feathered demon beasts to appear. These 2 silver-feathered demon beasts were formidable existences that Ji Yeshuan had subdued with her innate ability of Spirit Link. It's actually the 2 birds from back then. Kang Shinmu looked at the 2 birds and recalled the time when he was training in the wild. In the end, he was attacked by these two birds and almost died at their hands. From the looks of it, Ji Yeshuan had indeed tamed them with her spiritual power and turned them into her main fighting force. Of the two silver-feathered birds, one had a golden head and the other had a silver head. Their feathers were reflecting the sunlight. When they appeared and faced Kong Shinmu, they instantly became ferocious. Even though the size of these two birds was only 20 to 30 feet long, their ferocity was extremely fierce. Compared to Kong Shinmu's pitch-black holy dragon form, these two silver-feathered birds were not conspicuous at all, and could even be easily overlooked. Under Ji Yeshuan's control, the two birds condensed demonic energy from their feathers and rained down on Kong Shinmu. I've never seen this kind of talent to control demonic beasts before. It seems to be very powerful. Kong Shinmu thought to himself. He definitely didn't dare to be careless. His whole body flickered with golden light, and the dragon-grade halberd of Heavenly Saint had already turned into a golden light that covered his entire body. The countless feathers rained down on Kong Shinmu's body, and very quickly, they broke through the defense of his dragon-grade dragon weapon and bombarded his holy dragon body. These two birds had been tamed by Ji Yeshuan, and at this moment, their bodies were filled with Ji Yeshuan's spiritual talent. As long as Ji Yeshuan improved, their strength would also increase. In fact, with the two silver-feathered birds' combat power, Ji Yeshuan's current strength had already surpassed that of an ordinary Nirvana Tribulation second-level dragon martial artist. This made Kong Shinmu click his tongue in wonder. However, after the attacks of these two birds landed on Kong Shinmu's dragon body, they did not have the slightest effect, and were directly devoured by Kong Shinmu. Although these attacks were not exactly like scratching an itch to Jiang Shenwu's origin source dragon-type martial technique, the chaotic dragon body, they did not pose much of a threat. Without a doubt, this was because Ji Yeshuan's current cultivation realm and the level of divine dragon blood essence were still too low. Compared to Kong Shinmu, their combined combat power was still a little lacking. If it was any other ordinary dragon martial artist, such as a Nirvana Tribulation second-level dragon, Kong Shinmu could not be bothered to pay attention to them. One move would be enough to destroy the opponent. But now, he still wanted to familiarize himself with Ji Yeshuan's ability. After all, he was about to head to the Eastern Imperial Dragon Martial Academy. Over there, he might encounter many opponents with all sorts of strange innate abilities. If he were to cultivate there would definitely be conflicts. It would be beneficial for his upcoming journey to understand more about these strange innate abilities. This attack is too weak. Do you have any other tricks? Kong Shinmu easily blocked Ji Yeshuan's attack. Then, he chuckled. His 300 zhang long body of the black holy dragon soared in the air. He casually used the shadow dragon tooth transformation to attack the defense of the two silver-feathered birds. Countless feathers fell. If Kong Shinmu wanted to kill these two silver-feathered birds, it would be extremely easy. However, if he killed the silver-feathered birds, it would be a big blow to Ji Yeshuan. If he only wanted to defeat them, and there was no deep hatred between them, there was no need for Kong Shinmu to do this. Ji Yeshuan saw that the silver-feathered birds could do nothing to Kong Shinmu, which was within her expectations. Originally, she wanted to let the silver-feathered birds see Kong Shinmu's ability. But when Kong Shinmu displayed the inheritance blood of the Holy Dragon, she knew that if she didn't use her trump card, it would be impossible to defeat Kong Shinmu. Then, a snow-white fox, which was extremely small compared to the dragon warriors, condensed and jumped out of the void. Snow Fox. The dragon warriors of the Ji tribe were surprised to see this. They knew that for Ji Yeshuan, this snow fox was a treasure. At the same time, it was her strongest fighting power. Ji Yeshuan had tamed many demonic beasts by relying on her psychic talent. Among them, there were common demonic beasts like the silver-feathered bird, which were rare existences. After training, their battle prowess would surpass the dragon warriors of the same realm. However, for Jiang Shenwu, it was clearly not enough. Against Jiang Liuxue, Ji Yeshuan relied on the silver-feathered birds. But against Kang Xinmu, Ji Yeshuan knew that she had to use her trump card, the silver-feathered birds. It's this little fox. Kang Xinmu squinted his divine dragon eyes in midair. It could be said that he was quite familiar with the silver-feathered birds. Let me see what you're capable of. Halberd of Heavenly Saint, break. Kang Xinmu did not fall into a defensive position. Instead, he took the initiative to attack. When the silver-feathered birds appeared, he took the initiative to use the dragon martial skill and attacked the snow fox. The halberd of Heavenly Saint turned into countless golden halberds, whistling through the air. Its terrifying power made some of the tribal elders present solemn. Chapter 41-24. The halberd of Heavenly Saint swept forward. The golden light illuminated the entire area, making everyone exclaim in surprise. During the clan martial competition, many of these tribal elders were present. Naturally, they had seen the dragon-grade dragon weapon that had fused with Kang Xinmu. But now that they saw it again, it was completely different from before. Back in the dragon prison city, during the clan martial competition, even if Kang Xinmu fused with the dragon-grade dragon weapon, it was only at the level of Meng Chou. At that time, it was only at the 5th level of the divine martial realm, at most the 6th level. But now, when Kang Xinmu used the dragon-grade dragon weapon again, its power had exceeded the previous level by nearly a realm. This was because Kang Xinmu's inherited blood essence had reached the divine dragon level. In addition, his cultivation level had reached the 9th level of the divine martial realm from the 2nd level of the divine martial realm, which was the peak of the divine martial realm. When he first participated in the clan martial competition, Kang Xinmu was only at the 9th level of the dragon ascension realm. No one had expected that in just 2 years, Kang Xinmu had reached such a level. Wasn't the speed of his cultivation a little too fast? The divine martial realm was the process of the dragon warrior's innate power increasing. This was an extremely important realm for all dragon warriors. There were many dragon warriors with ordinary aptitude who would never be able to cross the nirvana tribulation and reach the nirvana tribulation realm, possessing the power of nirvana. There were also dragon warriors who were afraid of the nirvana tribulation and did not dare to try to break through. Therefore, the 9th level of the divine martial realm was the end of many dragon warriors. But for Kang Xinmu, this was just the beginning. Although his strength was much stronger than what he had shown in the clan martial competition, he was still not satisfied. Donghuang Yangwu College was a new starting point for him. With this as a springboard, he would be able to come into contact with the ancestral dragon level and rescue his father. But now, he had to settle all matters regarding the Jiang clan. At the very least, he wouldn't have to worry about anything in the future. Only then could he leave and train and cultivate in the Eastern Emperor Dragon Martial Academy with peace of mind. Halberd of the Sky Sage, go. The golden halberd suddenly swept out. Xue Tianhu had just come out when he encountered such an attack, and he was immediately shocked. This little thing had already grown to the same level as Ji Yeshuan. Ji Yeshuan was at the 2nd stage of the Nirvana tribulation realm, so she naturally possessed the power of Nirvana. Her innate talent was the ability to communicate with spirits, which allowed her to tame demonic beasts. The Nirvana energy, on the other hand, was the power of strengthening, allowing the demonic beasts that she had nurtured to become even stronger. Nirvana spiritual power. Ji Yeshuan suddenly shouted. A snow-white waterfall bloomed from the snow-white dragon and instantly fell on the snow fox. Then, the snow fox was enveloped in a round snow-white light. This barrier was a 3rd-grade defensive dragon martial technique that Ji Yeshuan had cultivated in conjunction with the demonic beasts she had tamed. A grade 3 dragon martial skill had indeed reached the standard of the sacred dragon residence. At least in the sacred dragon residence, a grade 3 dragon martial skill would not be casually taught to others. Only people like Kong Shinmu could be valued by the sacred dragon Shi Tao and be taught the shadow dragon tooth transformation. The golden halberd of the sky sage radiated, cracked, and brazenly bombarded the snow-white barrier around the snow fox. This barrier was, after all, formed from the power of nirvana. Moreover, it was a grade 3 dragon martial skill that had been cultivated to the dragon level. Kong Shinmu's halberd of Sky Sage was unable to break it for a while. This showed that its defensive power was indeed strong to a certain extent. It was no coincidence that it could defeat Jiang Liuxue. In Kong Shinmu's view, Ji Yeshuan's strength should be comparable to that of an ordinary inheritor of the heavenly dragon's blood in the third stage of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. But compared to the son of the Dragon King, Zhao Tianji, who was at the fourth stage, Ji Yeshuan was clearly weaker. If that's all you have, you won't be able to defeat me. Kong Shinmu looked at Ji Yeshuan. His pitch-black sacred dragon body instantly burst out with countless shadow dragon teeth. This was a grade 3 dragon martial skill. He had seen Ji Yeshuan practice it during the clan martial competition. But now, the shadow dragon tooth transformation that Kong Shinmu had displayed, had actually been cultivated to the heaven stage. Countless shadow dragon fangs filled the sky like a pitch-black rainstorm. In the blink of an eye, they bombarded the snow-white barrier around the snow heavenly fox. In just an instant, the snow heavenly fox let out a wail as its body was pierced by the shadow dragon fangs and blood splattered everywhere. Seeing this situation, Kong Shinmu did not show any joy. Instead, he frowned. Because he felt that he seemed to have fallen into a strange situation. Although he could break the opponent's snow-white barrier with the shadow dragon tooth transformation, it shouldn't be able to directly kill the snow fox. But now, the snow fox's eyes were filled with helplessness and despair. This made Kong Shinmu feel as if he was in an illusion. Sure enough, very soon, he felt a tyrannical attack his body from the side. The power of talent turned into a beam of light and exploded on his pitch-black sacred dragon body. This allowed him to jump out of the illusion. Opening his eyes, he found that the snow fox was indeed not dead. At this moment, it was alive and kicking, and even the snow-white barrier was still there. As for the shadow dragon tooth transformation that he had just unleashed, it had actually struck the ground, creating deep craters on the ground. This is an illusion. It even affected the scene I saw. Kong Shinmu took a deep breath. He knew that he had unknowingly fallen into the snow fox's illusion. But at this moment, when he was attacked and jumped out of the illusion, he saw Ji Yeshuan and the snow fox in front of him. Both of them had looks of disbelief on their faces. It was obvious that they had just used their strongest attack on the illusory Kong Shinmu. This attack was the strongest attack that Ji Yeshuan could unleash. But in the end, not only did it not harm Kong Shinmu, but it also woke him up from the illusion. What kind of terrifying defense did the 300 zhang long pitch-black dragon body have? Ji Yeshuan did not know. But even her strongest attack, which was used to attack the defenseless Kong Shinmu, was not successful. She could not even cause the slightest bit of harm to Kong Shinmu. She immediately knew that she had been surpassed by the youth in front of her, who had once looked down upon her. Even her strongest attack could not harm the defenseless Kong Shinmu. How could she possibly win against Kong Shinmu? To Ji Yeshuan, the sense of defeat was too strong. My attack dragon martial technique is only at the 4th grade. It seems that I have to think of a way to get a higher grade attack dragon martial technique. Otherwise, against a body-refining dragon martial artist like Kong Shinmu, I may not have the slightest chance of winning. Ji Yeshuan looked down at the ground. Kong Shinmu's 3rd grade dragon martial technique, the shadow dragon tooth transformation, was too destructive. If he had not fallen into the illusion and attacked Snow Fox directly, her defensive barrier would definitely have collapsed. It was actually a 3rd grade dragon martial technique that had been cultivated to the heaven grade. Chapter 41-25. Naturally, Kang Xinmu would not think too much about Ji Yeshuan's thoughts. When Kang Xinmu broke free from the illusion, Ji Yeshuan took the initiative to admit defeat. She knew that she was no match for the current Kang Xinmu. However, she was still in a good mood. Perhaps she was not sure that Kang Xinmu would win from the beginning, so she was quite carefree now. After leaving the stage, she smiled faintly and said, "Your strength is indeed much stronger than before, but it is still impossible for you to challenge all of us here." Among the tribes present, each tribe had someone at the 5th level of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm. These elders at the 5th level of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm could not possibly lose to Kang Xinmu, who was only at the 9th level of the Divine Martial Realm. However, Kang Xinmu was not the slightest bit afraid. He had even defeated Zhao Tianji, the son of the Dragon King. That genius dragon warrior at the 4th level of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm, who had cultivated a 2nd-grade dragon martial skill and a dragon-grade dragon weapon, was no match for Kang Xinmu. Although these elders had reached the 5th level of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm, their actual combat strength was still no match for Zhao Tianji. "Do you want to come one by one, or all at once?" Kang Xinmu even said faintly. For him, the essence blood of the divine dragon, the ability to devour, the dragon-grade dragon weapon, and the origin dragon martial skill. Any advantage in any aspect was enough for him to cross at least one level to defeat his opponent. Even the essence blood of the divine dragon and the origin dragon martial skill were enough for him to cross 2 levels to defeat his opponent. Together, even a guy at the 6th level of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm was no match for him. Of course, the premise was that the opponent did not have a dragon-grade dragon weapon or the origin dragon martial skill. But for these tribes, the dragon-grade dragon weapon was basically the treasure of the tribe, and they would not use it easily, at least not for these ordinary elders to use it. Even if they wanted to use it, they would let the patriarch use it, which would be the existence of the 6th or 7th level of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm. The current Kang Xinmu was still no match for them. Hearing Kang Xinmu's extraordinarily confident words, the faces of the people from the 4 clans all turned pale. This kid is too arrogant. He actually wants to challenge the 4 of us? You really overestimate yourself. Even though he defeated Ji Yeshuan, even we were able to defeat her so easily. Does this Kang Xinmu think that he's invincible just because he possesses the sacred dragon's blood essence? This arrogant attitude is really disgusting. Today, this elder will definitely put an end to him here. It is said that our Meng tribal clans Meng Chou and the others all died in the hands of this kid. Today, elder will avenge them. That's right. The genius of our clan, Zhang Feng, was also killed by him. He will not be able to escape punishment today. A group of elders stood out one after another. There were a total of 4 of them, and every one of them was in existence at the 5th level of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm. Originally, they had gathered here today to fight for the distribution of resources in the mine, but now, they had to join forces and get rid of Kang Xinmu first. They did not stand on ceremony at all. Kang Xinmu had asked them to attack together, and they really did so. But since Kang Xinmu dared to say it, he was naturally not afraid of them joining forces. But what they said made Kang Xinmu frown slightly. The Meng Chou and Zhang Feng you speak of, they were not killed by me. They participated in the rebellion with the son of the sacred dragon, Xia Yan. Although they wanted to kill me, I escaped. Later, they disappeared. I'm afraid they died in the hands of the Northern Chill Dragon country. Cut the crap, give me your life. An old elder of the Meng tribal clan immediately transformed into a divine dragon. A purple lightning divine dragon suddenly roared out from the battlefield. Its body was more than 100 feet long. The moment it appeared, it caused the lightning in the sky to flash. Purple lightning divine thunder dragon. The sky dragon's blood essence suddenly erupted. A series of purple lightning and divine thunder descended from the sky, landing on the divine dragon's body, making it look like a thunder god had descended. This elder of the Meng tribal clan was one of the more powerful elders of the Meng tribal clan. Otherwise, he would not have been sent here today to compete with the other tribes for the distribution of resources in the mine. There were also 3 other tribal elders. 2 of them did not hesitate to attack. They respectively transformed into the Sky Storm Dragon and the Shadow Fallen Dragon. Both of them had the Sky Dragon's blood essence. Together with the Purple Lightning Divine Thunder Dragon, the 3 divine dragons combined had an aura that surpassed the current Kong Shinmu. Even if it was the sacred dragon's blood essence, Kong Shinmu had yet to step into the Nirvana Tribulation realm, so his aura was still lacking. The power of Nirvana surpassed the power of talent. It was a power that could stir the heaven and earth. When the 3 elders joined forces, the aura between heaven and earth was stirred up by them. They could even affect the surrounding heaven and earth's spiritual energy. The spiritual energy constantly burst out, surrounding Kong Shinmu. This was the most difficult battle that Kong Shinmu had encountered so far. But there was something strange. The elder of the Ji tribal clan, after Ji Yeshuan's words, did not come forward to attack Kong Shinmu. "Elder Ji Dong, why didn't you come?" The elder of the Meng tribal clan looked at the calm elder of the Ji tribal clan. He was a little angry. Today, the Jiang tribal clan should have been dealt with first, and then the 4 major tribes could decide the winner. He did not expect that the 5th tier of the Nirvana Tribulation realm of the Ji tribal clan, Elder Ji Dong, would not participate in the attack. "I'm not as thick-skinned as you." 3 5th-tier Nirvana Tribulation Realm experts besieging a 9th-tier Divine Martial Realm Junior. Elder Ji Dong had a righteous look on his face, but his eyes were filled with disdain. He did not intend to participate in the attack, not to mention that Ji Yeshuan had whispered a few words to him. Their opinions were similar. In today's matter, it was enough to deal with Kong Shinmu. There was no need to besiege him. If Elder Ji Dong really participated in the attack, winning would not be a glorious thing. But if he did not participate in the attack, and Kong Shinmu won, they could immediately choose to retreat. Because if Kong Shinmu won, it would mean that Kong Shinmu's future was limitless. Once he stepped into the Nirvana Tribulation realm, who among the major tribes could be his opponent? Elder Ji Dong was still very smart. He knew when to give up. Originally, these mineral resources were not of much use to the Ji tribal clan, so they could give them up. As long as they could befriend a super genius like Kong Shinmu, hearing Elder Ji Dong's words, the 3 elders immediately cursed out loud. Son of a bitch, at this critical moment, he actually retreated. He's really shameless. It doesn't matter. Once we finish off this Kong Shinmu, it will be impossible for the Ji tribal clan to obtain the distribution rights of the mineral resources. After they finished speaking, they turned their attention to Kong Shinmu. Chapter 41-26. Everyone in the Jiang tribal clan had their hearts in their throats. Seeing that Jiang Shenwu was actually going to fight so many 5th-level Nirvana Tribulation stage elders by himself, they were simply nervous to death. Jiang Liuxue knew that Jiang Shenwu had always been a person who created miracles. However, she still couldn't help but be somewhat worried. After all, the 5th-level Nirvana Tribulation elder of the 3 great tribes was really too strong for her. There were no more than 3 people in the Jiang tribal clan who could defeat any one of them. In the current weakened state of the Jiang tribal clan, the strongest person was only a 7th-tier Nirvana Tribulation elder, and he was a dying old man. If Kong Shinmu could really fight against 3 5th-tier Nirvana Tribulation elders by himself, then he would soon become the strongest person in the Jiang tribal clan. But, who are the 2 black-cloaked people? Why are they following Kong Shinmu? Could it be the Yen Dragon Emperor's people? Jiang Liuxue and the others already knew about Kong Shinmu's situation. In the past year, he had been undergoing trials in the Flame Dragon Sacred Tower, and had finally upgraded from Sky Dragon Blood to Sacred Dragon Blood. So now that he had returned, the two people he brought back should be from the Yen Dragon Emperor's people, but they did not know their identities. However, Jiang Liuxue only thought about it for a moment, and did not particularly care. Right now, all her attention was focused on the battle between Jiang Shenwu and the 3 5th-level Nirvana Tribulation Realm tribal elders. Good luck. Perhaps the other people in the Jiang tribal clan did not think that Kang Xinmu had any chance of winning, but Jiang Liuxue still chose to believe in Kang Xinmu. But Jiang Yuaning did not seem to be here. However, Jiang Shenwu didn't have the time to think too much about it. He was currently facing 3 elders at the 5th level of the Rebirth Tribulation stage. Even though he was confident in defeating his opponents, this was indeed an unprecedented challenge to him. Purple Thunderbolt Break. A 4th-grade dragon martial skill that had long been cultivated to the peak of the heaven level burst out from the Purple Thunderbolt Dragon's Claw. Violent purple lightning condensed into divine thunder, filling the surrounding air with electricity. This was the 5th stage of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm. The Meng tribal clan's elder had transformed into the Purple Divine Thunder Dragon. Using the power of Nirvana to condense an offensive dragon martial skill, the moment the Purple Divine Thunder appeared, it immediately had the power to topple mountains and overturn seas. In addition, the Zong tribal clan and the Gu tribal clan's Sky Storm Dragon and Shadow Fallen Sky Dragon also displayed their skills. The dragon martial skills they cultivated were all grade 4 dragon martial skills. They were considered to be the top dragon martial skills among the various big tribes. Moreover, they had all cultivated them to heaven tier. After all, they were all very old and their tempering of dragon martial skills had already reached the peak. Heaven and Earth Storm. Shadow-splitting Dragon Breath. The former used the nirvana energy of heaven and earth to transform into a storm. Combined with the innate ability of Gale, it allowed the Gale Dragon in the sky to explode with a terrifying speed in an instant. The entire body of the Divine Dragon was like a whirlwind as it struck towards Jiang Shenwu's location. A total of 4 heaven and earth storms descended from the sky, enveloping Jiang Shenwu. And the latter used the shadow-splitting dragon breath. It burst out with the shadow-fallen sky dragon's nirvana power. It condensed into an incomparably astonishing dragon breath. When it spewed out from the shadow-fallen sky dragon's mouth, it was like the power from hell. It filled the whole area with a heavy atmosphere. 3 attacks, one after another, swept towards Kang Xinmu. Dragon Martial God Shield. Kang Xinmu's eyes were filled with determination. The Divine Dragon roared and the Dragon Martial God Shield was activated. This was his first time facing such a powerful opponent. Therefore, even if his opponent used a 4th-grade Dragon Martial skill, Kang Xinmu did not dare to be careless. After all, his opponent had used the Nirvana power to display a peak Dragon Martial skill. Although it was only 4th grade, its destructive power was still extremely shocking. The Dragon Martial God Shield was a 2nd-grade Dragon Martial skill. Moreover, Kang Xinmu had already cultivated it to the peak of the heaven level in the Flame Dragon's Sacred Tower. This is a 2nd-grade defensive Dragon Martial skill. The 3 tribal elders were shocked. Although they were prepared, when the 2nd-grade Dragon Martial skill appeared in front of them, they were still extremely shocked. At the same time, their eyes revealed a hint of desire. If they could obtain this Dragon Martial skill, their overall strength would at least double. How could they still be an elder of a small tribe? They could even easily obtain the position of tribe leader. Unfortunately, even in the Sacred Dragon Residence, the highest level that could be passed down was the 3rd-grade Dragon Martial skill. This 2nd-grade Dragon Martial skill could only be obtained by the most talented person. Even in the Demon Hunters Guild, if one did not surpass the Nirvana Tribulation Realm and reach the Rebirth Tribulation Realm, one would not be able to obtain the Demon Hunter points that were worth the 2nd-grade Dragon Martial skill when hunting demonic beasts. It was impossible even if one hunted for decades. This was because the value of a demonic beast's monster core was completely different at different stages. For example, the rebirth stage demonic beast's monster core that Kong Shinmu had obtained was obtained in the Heaven Awakening demon realm. It just happened to be dead. For ordinary people, even Holy Dragon Shi Tao would find it extremely difficult to deal with a demonic beast of that level. It would probably take 3 holy dragons working together to deal with it. Therefore, it was impossible to obtain a second-grade dragon martial skill without strength. However, without a powerful dragon martial skill, it was impossible to have strong strength. This was a vicious cycle. To these bottom-tier dragon martialist tribes of the Fire Dragon Empire, it was indeed too difficult to advance. Apart from talent, they could only rely on luck and opportunities. The martial dragon shield erupted and condensed. In that split second, the opponent's 3 attacks landed on the martial dragon divine shield. Purple Lightning Divine Thunder Break. The power of the Purple Lightning Divine Thunder instantly bombarded the martial dragon god shield. Even though the martial dragon god shield had been cultivated to the heaven grade, it was still somewhat unable to withstand the opponent's attack. After all, the opponent's cultivation level was much higher than Jiang Shenwu's. However, the power of the Purple Thunderbolt was completely neutralized and absorbed by the martial dragon shield. Lightning and thunder spread out from the martial dragon shield. Although it caused great damage to the shield, it was ultimately unable to break through the martial dragon shield's defense. However, the Heaven and Earth Tempest Cyclone and Shadow-Rending Dragon Breath came. The former sent out 4 hurricanes, followed by the Purple Thunderbolt, and instantly engulfed the martial dragon shield. The terrifying tearing force finally destroyed the heavily bombarded martial dragon shield. The Shadow-Rending Dragon Breath followed closely and completely shattered the martial dragon shield before landing on Kong Shinmu's divine dragon body. The black dragon's body was struck by the terrifying aura of the Shadow-Rending Dragon's Breath. A second-grade defensive dragon martial skill is only so. The 3 elders burst into laughter. They watched Kong Shinmu's divine dragon body, which was more than 300 feet long, being bombarded by the shadow-rending dragon breath and falling to the ground, creating a huge crater. They immediately burst into laughter. To them, a second-grade dragon martial skill was an extremely terrifying existence. However, Kong Shinmu had not even reached the Nirvana Tribulation realm, which made them feel a little bored. Such an opponent had threatened to deal with the 4 of them together. It was simply a pipe dream. Chapter 41-27. How is this possible? The elder of the Gu tribe, who was also the shadow-fallen sky dragon, had a look of shock in his eyes. You took my shadow-splitting dragon breath head-on. Even if you were at the 3rd level of the Nirvana Tribulation realm, you would definitely die. How is it possible that you are not injured at all? He knew that Kong Shinmu was powerful. He had the blood essence of a holy dragon, and he also had a second-grade dragon martial skill. Moreover, he had cultivated it to the heaven level. This was already incredible. After all, among the young dragon warriors, there were very few who could cultivate a dragon martial skill to the heaven level, not to mention a second-grade dragon martial skill. It was much more difficult to cultivate than an ordinary dragon martial skill. But just now, the first 2 attacks had clearly broken the dragon martial god's shield, but when he directly attacked Kong Shinmu's dragon body, he was actually unscathed. This made the shadow-fallen sky dragon almost unable to believe his eyes. His shadow-splitting dragon breath was an existence with extremely strong penetrating power, but at this moment, it actually had no effect. It's a body-refining dragon martial skill. The Meng tribe's Purple Lightning Divine Thunder Dragon stared at Kong Shinmu. He has always cultivated a body-refining dragon martial skill, so his dragon body's defense has even surpassed our strength. The elder of the Gu tribe shook his head, and said with a serious expression, even if it's an ordinary body-refining dragon martial skill, it shouldn't have such an effect. After all, our Gu tribe has many body-refining dragon martial skills, and many of our juniors have cultivated them. This kid can now take my attack head-on and not be injured. It can only be said that he has cultivated at least a second-grade body refining dragon martial skill. I heard that this Kong Shin Mu exposed the holy dragon Xia Yan's betrayal in the Northern Chill Dragon Country War, and also obtained crucial information, which allowed our Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty to finally win. It seems that he has obtained an excellent reward. The three elders looked at each other, and the divine dragon's eyes were clearly a little solemn. Their individual methods could not harm Kong Shinmu, which meant that Kong Shinmu could use his devouring power to slowly grind them to death. This was a unique method that they had seen in the clan martial competition that belonged to Kong Shinmu. Therefore, they had to do their best. Kill. Show no mercy. 3 Earth-grade dragon weapons appeared around the purple thunder dragon as soon as he finished speaking. They were 3 purple thunderbolt will seals. Although these 3 purple thunderbolt will seals were only Earth-grade dragon weapons, their combined might was not much different from a dragon-grade dragon weapon. Especially under the circumstances that his cultivation level far surpassed Kong Shinmu's, the terrifying strength of the 5th level of the Nirvana Tribulation stage was completely condensed on the Violet Lightning will seal. Purple Thunder will seal, Purple Thunder Whirlwind Cut. The Purple Thunderbolt Celestial Thunder Dragon did not hesitate at all and used another 4th-grade dragon martial skill. It was also a technique that had been cultivated to the peak of heaven rank. It also absorbed the power of the Purple Thunderbolt will seal and attached it to the 3 Purple Thunderbolt will seals. It swept towards Kong Shinmu from 3 different directions. Shadow Dragon Scepter, split into 3. On the other hand, the Shadow Falling Dragon transformed into 3 clones. The 3 clones, including himself, were 4. The terrifying pitch-black dragon breath on the 3 shadow clones continued to condense, transforming into 4 pitch-black vortexes. They were like endless black holes as they smashed down towards Kong Shinmu from the sky. This was also a 4th-grade dragon martial skill that had been cultivated to the heaven rank. It was already the peak technique that they could use. The power of the 3 clones, with the addition of the Shadow Dragon Scepter, became incomparably terrifying. If it was any other 9th-level Divine Martial Realm Dragon Warrior here, even if it was just a single move, they would be killed by the other party without a corpse remaining. There was also an elder, the Sky Gale Dragon. He rose into the sky and actually stirred up the clouds. Not long after, he brought along a gust of black clouds and gales with the power of lightning as he descended. Thunder Attracting Pearl, 10,000 Hurricane Thunder. An Earth-rank dragon weapon and a 3rd-grade dragon martial skill were also a combination of the two. Endless 10,000 Hurricane Thunder descended from the sky and rapidly chopped down towards Kong Shinmu. The 3 elders together were like a terrifying death god descending to the mortal world. They appeared on the battlefield and surrounded Kong Shinmu. Everyone in the Jiang clan became the most nervous. At this moment, it was obvious that the outcome of the battle was about to be decided. Without any fancy moves, the 3 elders used their strongest techniques. For Kong Shinmu, could he withstand it? It's over. How can this Kong Shinmu withstand such a powerful technique? I'm afraid he will die here. That's right. He overestimated himself. I thought that he would be able to do something for our Jiang clan, but in the end, how disappointing. If I were Kong Shinmu, I would definitely attack first and restrain one of them. How could I let all 3 of them use their ultimate techniques? This is simply courting death. There's no hope at all. Within the Jiang clan, many people began to whisper. They originally did not have much affection for Kong Shinmu. Now that they saw Kong Shinmu standing there motionless, they suddenly had the urge to curse. Once Kong Shinmu failed, then their Jiang clan would fall into the same situation as before, or even worse. Only Jiang Liuxue's eyes were filled with determination. He won't lose. After all, he has already cultivated that level of dragon martial skill, first-grade origin source dragon technique. Only Jiang Liuxue knew of this news. A first-grade dragon martial skill was almost a legend to the dragon warriors of the tribe. But Jiang Liuxue knew that Kang Xinmu had already obtained it and cultivated it. Now that Dragon Emperor Yan had been in the city for more than a year, this move must have been cultivated to a very powerful level, right? Just by relying on the chaotic dragon body, Kang Xinmu would not be able to withstand the combined attacks of the three. But if the first-grade dragon martial skill were to be used, the three would definitely not be able to break through Kang Xinmu's defense. Furthermore, Kang Xinmu's strongest trump card was the devouring power. As long as he did not die, he would be the final winner. However, even though Jiang Liuxue had such confidence in Kang Xinmu, she had still underestimated Kang Xinmu. To deal with the combined attacks of the three tribal elders, Kang Xinmu did not even need to use the devouring power's characteristics to achieve victory with great difficulty. A three-pronged attack, to me, only needs one move to break it. In the air, Kang Xinmu's 300 feet long black dragon body did not retreat. Instead, he remained motionless. A pitch-black devouring power gathered and condensed around his body. Void Dragon raises the sky. An illusory divine dragon shadow formed from the devouring power appeared below Kang Xinmu. Break! 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 Chapter 41-28. Void Dragon Sky Raising Break was an offensive dragon martial skill cultivated by Kang Xinmu. In the Flame Dragon Sacred Tower, he had constantly used the dragon martial skill, and had cultivated this Void Dragon Sky Raising Break to the dragon level, and was infinitely close to the heaven level. Now, he could use 3 Void Dragon Sky Raising Breaks at the same time. 3 Void Dragons appeared and suddenly exploded, creating a total of 24 pitch-black light cannons. But now, against these 3 tribal elders, even if they were existences at the 5th level of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm, Kang Xinmu only used the first Void Dragon Sky Raising Break. The terrifying light cannons shot out, and the astonishing power that surged out had already caused the 3 opposing elders to fall into a difficult situation to resist. The 3 tribal elders had already used all kinds of methods, and even relied on their dragon weapons and grade 4 dragon martial skills, which had been cultivated to the peak and combined with their dragon weapons. But now, they were instantly suppressed by Kang Xinmu's Void Dragon Sky Raising Break and the pitch-black light cannons. When the pitch-black light cannon burst out, the 3 elders' methods were instantly nullified by the pitch-black light cannon. Immediately after, the pitch-black light cannons completely enveloped the 3. From the looks of it, Kang Xinmu instantly condensed a divine dragon shadow, and then shot 8 pitch-black light cannons at the 3. Among them, the purple lightning dragon faced 3 pitch-black light cannons, and the shadow-fallen sky dragon also suffered 3 light cannons. The 2's attacks were completely disintegrated by the 2 light cannons, and then the last light cannons wrapped around their divine dragon bodies. The destructive power instantly overflowed, causing them to be seriously injured, and heavily fell to the ground. And finally, the Sky Storm Dragon, although it only suffered 2 light cannons, immediately after, Kang Xinmu used the Heavenly Sacred Halberd and the Shadow Dragon Fang to attack together. The Sky Storm Dragon wanted to use its speed advantage to dodge, but it failed. Instead, it was enveloped by the golden light of Kang Xinmu's Heavenly Sacred Halberd. It was completely and thoroughly injured, and crashed to the ground. It's over. Kang Xinmu's expression was natural and cold. He descended from the sky and stopped in front of the Jiang clan. He scanned his surroundings. The 3 tribal elders were seriously injured by him and fell to the ground. They couldn't even maintain their divine dragon bodies. Even the other dragon warriors of the Jiang clan found it inconceivable that Kang Xinmu had actually done it. After the shock, only ecstasy remained in their hearts. Their Jiang tribal clan had produced a genius that could surpass everything. The strength of this genius was actually able to deal with the combined forces of 3 5th-level Nirvana Tribulation Stage Elders at such a young age. This meant that even if it was a 6th-level Nirvana Tribulation Stage Elder alone, it should be possible for Kang Shinmu to defeat him, right? And this was when he was only at the 9th level of the Divine Martial Arts realm. Once Kang Shinmu broke through to the Nirvana Tribulation Stage, there was no doubt that his battle strength would once again surpass it. He could even fight against the terrifying dragon warriors of the Nirvana Tribulation Stage. It could be said that once Kang Shinmu stepped into the Nirvana Tribulation Stage, he would be able to sweep away the major tribes without the slightest bit of pressure. The people of the Jiang clan cheered. Along with their cheers, the other dragon warriors of the Meng tribal clan, Gu tribal clan, and Zhang tribal clan all fell to the bottom of their hearts. They had never thought that their 3 tribal elders together could not even defeat a single Kang Shinmu. Once upon a time, Jiang Shenwu could only be mentioned in the same breath as their juniors in the clan martial competition. For example, Meng Chou, Zhang Feng, and Gu Ti Feng. They were all the stronger youths of the 3 great clans. At that time, Kang Shinmu had to use all his strength to defeat them. But now, Kang Shinmu had effortlessly defeated their tribal elders. During this period of time, Kang Shinmu had awakened and risen, but what about the geniuses of their tribes? They were all dead. Meng Chou, Zhang Shijian, Gu Ti Feng, and so on. Many of them had already fallen. They were the most talented existences in their tribes. Even if they were still alive, they could not catch up to the current Kang Shinmu. Now that Kang Shinmu had defeated the 3 tribal elders, not only did he defeat the 3 dragon warriors, he had also defeated the confidence of the dragon warriors of the 3 major tribes. This made them develop a different kind of feeling towards Kang Shinmu. Void Dragon raises the sky. One move to defeat the enemy. There was nothing fancy about it. When Ji Yeshuan saw this, her eyes immediately lit up. She could clearly tell that what Kang Shinmu had used was definitely that first-grade dragon martial skill. However, she did not know that this first-grade dragon martial skill was also known as the Origin Dragon Martial Skill. However, this did not prevent her from seeing how powerful Kang Shinmu was now. His limit shouldn't be here. He should be able to fight against the 6th-level Nirvana Tribulation Realm Dragon Warrior. Ji Yeshuan thought. The battle prowess that Kang Shinmu had displayed had already far surpassed hers. This had dealt a certain blow to her self-confidence. After all, she had originally set the inheritance of the Holy Dragon's blood essence as her goal. In the end, Kang Shinmu had already taken a step ahead of her and achieved it. He even possessed such terrifying battle prowess. When there was a gap between people, and the gap was too big, they would have to look up to him. When they looked up to him, it was impossible for them to even feel the slightest bit of jealousy, because it was simply impossible for them to catch up to him. They could only be envious, and at the same time, respectful. Sure enough, heroes come from the youngsters. It seems that we of the older generation have no way to compete with the youngsters. Yeshuan, let's leave. This Jiang tribe will definitely rise in the future. There's no need for us to become enemies with them right now. The 5th-level Nirvana Tribulation Realm Elder of the Ji tribe squinted his eyes and smiled amiably as he spoke to Ji Yeshuan. Although it was only a suggestion, it could be seen that he had already made such a decision. Furthermore, there was a tinge of joy in his expression. If he had joined in the battle just now and allowed Kang Shinmu to deal with the 4 alone, it would have been completely futile. It was impossible for him to defeat Kang Shinmu. At most, they would be able to use that terrifying first-grade dragon martial skill again, and their attacks against Kang Shinmu would not have much effect. Just the second-grade defensive dragon martial skill would be able to weaken their attacks by more than half. Ji Yeshuan nodded. She did not say anything more, and only waved her hand, let's go. In the future, we will choose a good day to visit the Jiang tribe again. Let's congratulate them for producing such a shocking genius. From now on, the Jiang tribe will rise again. The people of the Ji tribe, at this moment, followed Ji Yeshuan and the old elder and turned to leave. They left very decisively, but before they left, they all looked at Kong Shinmu with a look of admiration. Chapter 41-29. Everyone from the Ji tribal clan had left. They had no intention of getting a share of the mine's resources. After all, with a genius like Kong Shinmu around, if they bullied the Jiang tribal clan now, it wouldn't be long before Kong Shinmu bullied them instead. How could they make an enemy out of him? As for the Meng tribal clan, the Zong tribal clan and the Gu tribal clan, they had all sent people to help the three tribal elders up. They were all seriously injured and had lost their ability to fight. But now that they were being helped up, they were still conscious. They had long been deeply shocked by the power of Kong Shinmu's source dragon martial technique. Now they could not even muster the slightest thought of going against the Jiang tribal clan. Let's go back, let's go. The three major tribes had actually fled in defeat. Not long after, there was only the Jiang tribal clan left in the empty space outside the mine's resource entrance. A group of young dragon warriors surrounded them and cheered. To them, Kong Shinmu's performance today was simply a miracle. Kong Shinmu's age was even younger than everyone present who had awakened as a dragon warrior. Yet, he already had such terrifying strength. It was simply terrifying. This meant that their Jiang tribal clan had produced a top genius. Most importantly, Kong Shinmu was now a sacred dragon level inheritor, which meant, Kong Shinmu, now that you are a sacred dragon level inheritor, does that mean that you can build your own sacred dragon residence in Dragon Prison City? If you can bring us to Dragon Prison City and step into the sacred dragon residence, then this mine's resources would be nothing compared to it. That's right. It said that the sacred dragon residence can receive a large amount of cultivation resources from the Dragon King residence every month. That should be true, right? Everyone was already looking forward to it. This was the first thing they thought of when they saw that Kong Shinmu had become the inheritor of the sacred dragon's blood. It was also the thing that would bring them the most benefits. In comparison, the fact that Kong Shinmu had defeated the elders of these tribes was nothing. To them, this mine's resources were nothing compared to Kong Shinmu's. Such a mine's resources could allow them to slowly rise. In the future, the tribe's overall strength could reach or even exceed the Ji tribe and Meng tribe standards. However, if Kong Shinmu really built a sacred dragon residence in Dragon Prison City for them to enter, they would have a meteoric rise. They would instantly become more powerful and prestigious than the other tribes. Among them, some could only awaken to become dragon warriors at the age of 30, while others could only reach the Nirvana Tribulation realm at the age of 40. Dragon warriors could only live for 100 or 200 years with the help of the divine dragon's blood essence. Therefore, it would be very difficult for them to truly rise in this lifetime. However, with the resources of the sacred dragon residence, they might be able to advance further. Putting everything else aside, their juniors would be better nurtured. Their progress might be limited in this lifetime, but their sons and grandsons might be able to rise up in Dragon Prisoner City. This was their greatest hope. It was a pity that Kong Shinmu could not give them such a promise, because he was about to leave the Yen Dragon Emperor's court and head for Donghuang Yongwu College. However, he could not tell anyone about his destination. He shook his head and rejected the guesses of others. I will not build the sacred dragon residence. My current cultivation level is still too low. Even if I were to take control of the sacred dragon residence, would not be able to convince the masses. Therefore, I plan to first go out and gather strength. I still need more power. The current him was definitely an influential figure in the entire Yen Dragon Emperor's court, but to him, this was far from enough. To rescue his father, Jiang Zizai, he had to enter the sealed dragon abyss. According to Jiang Zizai, he had to reach the level of the ancestral dragon. To Kang Xinmu, there was still a long way to go. Of course, this did not mean that Jiang Shenwu would not leave anything behind for the Jiang clan. At least for him, the Grade 2 Dragon Martial Skill, the Martial Dragon God's Shield, and the Grade 3 Offensive Dragon Martial Skill, the Shadow Dragon Fang Transformation, could be taught. This way, after mastering these high-grade dragon martial skills, it would be impossible for the Jiang tribal clan to be bullied by others. At least, the Meng tribal clan would not dare to plunder the Jiang tribal clan. A 5th-tier Nirvana Tribulation Realm Dragon Warrior, after practicing a Grade 2 Dragon Martial skill, would definitely be able to defeat an opponent 2 tiers higher in battle strength. In other words, in terms of battle strength, the elders of the Jiang tribal clan would soon be able to catch up to the other tribes. Although their cultivation level would not change, their battle strength would increase by leaps and bounds. However, after Kang Xinmu rejected the idea of building the sacred dragon residence, the rest of the Jiang tribal clan were disappointed. They did not expect Kang Xinmu to want to go out for training. He's already so strong, why would he want to go out for training? If he dies along the way, wouldn't it be a waste? That's right, so what if he builds the sacred dragon residence for us? That's right, I remember Jiang Zizai from back then. He was similarly talented, but he died outside and never came back alive. Stingy, stingy. If Jiang Zizai was still here, he would definitely not be so stingy. You can't even reach a tenth of your father's level. The crowd immediately began to discuss and criticize Kang Xinmu. After all, if Kang Xinmu went out for training, it would be fine if he could come back later. They still had a backer, so the surrounding tribes would not dare to act rashly. But what if Kang Xinmu died outside? Then his talent would be the same as Jiang Zizai's, a joke. At that time, the other tribes would definitely not let the Jiang tribal clan off. Originally, Kang Xinmu could not be bothered with these people's words. But when they mentioned his father, Jiang Zizai, Kang Xinmu's eyes immediately turned cold. His gaze was fixed on the middle-aged man and woman who were talking about his father, Jiang Zizai. Then, he enunciated each word clearly, "You are not fit to mention my father. Now that I'm strong, it's all because of my own talent. Back then, Jiang Rong even wanted to kill me. I remember that the two of you voted for Jiang Rong to be the tribe leader." When this matter was brought up, the middle-aged man and woman immediately fell silent out of fear. With Kang Xinmu's words, the other discussions came to an end. Originally, they had a lot of opinions about Kang Xinmu, but seeing Kang Xinmu catch 2 examples, the rest of them did not dare to say another word. When the crowd quietened down, the man and woman knew that they were afraid. They were just blindly making a fuss. They never expected that Kang Xinmu would remember such a matter. They felt a chill in their hearts. Back then, they had supported Jiang Rong's ascension, but in the end, Jiang Rong had hired assassins to kill Kang Xinmu. Now, they even had the face to ask Kang Xinmu to think for them, to build the sacred dragon residence for them. Chapter 4130. After Kang Xinmu said this, the middle-aged man and woman did not dare to say another word. They hurriedly said, "No, no. Back then, we did not know that Jiang Rong was such a person. Now that the matter has passed, we all know that only you can lead our Jiang clan to a higher level." With them saying this, Kang Xinmu could not be bothered with them. But from this matter, Kang Xinmu could tell that within the Jiang clan, there were many people who were ingrates. Back then, they looked down on him and even publicly supported Jiang Rong's ascension, almost causing Kang Xinmu to perish at Jiang Rong's hands. Now that he had risen, they wanted to reap the greatest benefits from him. Kang Xinmu really did not want the fruits of his efforts to benefit them. Even if he established the sacred dragon residence, Kang Xinmu would not allow these people to follow him. After all, these people had questionable characters. In the future, if they really rose up and encountered some problems with their interests, they might even bite back at him. The gains would not make up for the losses. So, regarding the Grade 3 Dragon skill, Shadow Dragon Fang Transformation, and the Grade 2 Dragon skill, Shield of the Martial Dragon God, it was an important question to decide who to impart them to. Jiang Shenwu could write out 10 cultivation secret manuals at once. After all, he had already cultivated these 2 dragon martial skills to the heaven tier. He could completely write his own cultivation secret manuals, which was why he could impart these 2 dragon martial skills to others. As for the Shadow Dragon raising the sky break, it was just a little bit away from reaching the heaven stage. Clearly, he was unable to impart it to others. The secret manuals for the Grade 2 and Grade 3 dragon martial skills also required a lot of effort. To Jiang Shenwu, even though he could quickly rely on these 2 methods to exchange for other cultivation resources, those who were able to cultivate the dragon martial skill to the heaven rank, especially the high-grade dragon martial skills, would not be greedy for the money obtained through these methods. After all, the more dragon skills were spread, the more likely it would fall into the hands of one's opponents. That would be like shooting oneself in the foot. Therefore, the imparting of the dragon martial skill had to be done with extreme caution. At least for now, Kang Xinmu did not want the heaven-ranked dragon martial skill that he had painstakingly cultivated to be obtained by his opponent. In the Jiang clan, it was not easy to know who was his friend and who could be trusted. However, Kang Xinmu had an idea. Let's go back to the tribe first. Right now, I have 2 dragon martial skills that have been cultivated to the heaven stage. I want to write 10 copies of these 2 dragon martial skills and distribute them to everyone in the tribe to cultivate. Adding up to 20 dragon martial technique manuals, it was a great improvement for the Jiang tribal clan. It would allow the dragon warriors to be reborn. A dragon martial skill of this level could not be placed in the family as a reserve. After all, such a thing was too precious for the Jiang clan. Keeping it would only bring disaster, and it could even lead to robbery. Upon hearing that Kang Xinmu was going to teach them dragon martial skills, the many dragon warriors of the Jiang clan immediately became excited. This was a great opportunity for the Jiang clan to improve. On the other hand, the middle-aged man and woman's expressions turned ugly. They thought to themselves that if they had known earlier, they would not have made such a ruckus. They would definitely not get a share of the 20 dragon martial skill manuals. However, they were not in despair. This was an opportunity for them. Although they had not even reached the Nirvana Tribulation realm, and were only at the 6th and 7th stages of the Divine Martial realm, they still desired the dragon martial skill. It had to be known that the dragon martial skill had nothing to do with the dragon warrior's cultivation level. If a dragon warrior of any realm obtained a high-grade dragon martial skill, their battle power would definitely increase greatly after cultivating it. Therefore, they were thinking of how to obtain the 20% of the dragon martial skill manuals. Even if they only obtained one, it would be a great improvement for them. Jiang Liuxue, I can write 2 manuals a day. 10 days later, I will hand over the 20 dragon martial skill manuals to you. Kang Xinmu explained the matter to Jiang Liuxue in front of everyone present. He said with a smile, the Grade 2 Dragon Martial Skill, Shield of the Dragon Martial God, and the Grade 3 Dragon Martial Skill, Shadow Dragon Fang Transformation are all pretty good dragon martial skills. You can cultivate them yourself. As for the other 18 manuals, you will be in charge of distributing them to the talented dragon warriors of the tribe, or to the elders with high cultivation levels. As for who to give them to, it will be up to you. These words made Jiang Liuxue feel flattered. Although her status in the Jiang clan was not low, she was still far from having the right to speak. After all, she had not even reached the Nirvana Tribulation realm, and had lost to Ji Yeshuan. If the manuals were given to her, she would not be able to keep them safe. It was even possible that the manuals would be divided among the people of the Jiang clan, and she would not be able to stop it. Why did Kang Xinmu choose her? But soon, Jiang Liuxue nodded. She vaguely understood something, and then smiled. All right, then I will keep these dragon martial skill manuals safe. I will definitely give them to someone worthy of them, so that our Jiang clan can become even stronger. She had always trusted Kang Xinmu. Now that Kang Xinmu had said this, he must have his own plans for Kang Xinmu, so she could not refuse this matter. Although she had obtained a grade 2 dragon martial skill during the Northern Chill Dragon Country War, one could never have too many dragon martial skills. If she had cultivated the Shadow Dragon Fang transformation and Shield of the Dragon Martial God, her strength would have been even stronger. If she had cultivated them earlier, she might have been able to defeat Ji Yeshuan. When Kang Xinmu proposed and Jiang Liuxue agreed, the eyes of the many Jiang clan dragon warriors behind them lit up. They had actually given the manuals to Jiang Liuxue. This gave them a very good opportunity. Perhaps it was very possible for them to have some thoughts and obtain 1 or 2 dragon martial skill manuals. Especially the middle-aged man and woman, a hint of shrewdness and greed immediately emerged in their eyes. However, they quickly concealed it and did not show it. Let's go back. Kang Xinmu led the crowd back to the Jiang clan's great Jiang Dragon City. During this time, Kang Xinmu explained the situation to Dragon King and K-Dragon King. He needed to stay in Great Jiang Dragon City for 10 days, and then set off for Donghuang Yangwu College. If they had other matters to attend to, they could return first. There would not be any danger that could not be resolved. Chapter 41-31. After being reassured, Dragon King and Dragon King K left Great Jiang Dragon City. From beginning to end, they did not reveal their identities. After all, to many tribes, their identities were too shocking. If they had revealed their identities from the beginning, the elders of the 3 tribes would not have dared to fight with Kang Xinmu. However, Kang Xinmu did not need to rely on others to stabilize the Jiang tribe. Dragon King and Dragon King K saw this and were very satisfied with him. Under their protection, Kang Xinmu would never be able to grow to a truly powerful level. Soon, Kang Xinmu was going to Donghuang Yangwu College. Logically, Dragon Emperor Yan would not let him go alone. He would have sent people to protect him. However, if he wanted to join Donghuang Yangwu College, there was another condition. That was to travel alone to the nearby country where Donghuang Yangwu College was located. Otherwise, Donghuang Yangwu College would not recognize his identity as a disciple. Kang Xinmu had learned of this from Dragon Emperor Yan, so he could see that Donghuang Yangwu College was definitely a place for geniuses to gain experience. Furthermore, it would not change the rules because of someone's identity. After the 2 flame dragon envoys left, Kang Xinmu brought the other Jiang tribe members back to Great Jiang Dragon City. Next, he would spend 10 days to write down the secret manuals of the 2 dragon martial techniques that he had cultivated. Only after he finished writing would he have other plans. Kang Xinmu, I heard that Jiang Yuaning is not in Great Jiang Dragon City recently. She has gone to other nearby cities to gain experience. Jiang Liuxue saw that Kang Xinmu had returned. He seemed to be thinking about something, so she guessed his thoughts and told him a piece of news. Oh? Which city did she go to? Kang Xinmu was a little surprised. Jiang Yuaning knew that he possessed the devouring power and knew most of the effects of his devouring power. Jiang Xinwu had always regarded her as one of his best friends. Below the Jiang clan is the 2nd Dragon City, First Moon Dragon City. That's the border between the Jiang clan and the Demon Beast Sea. You should know of it. Jiang Liuxue explained. Kang Xinmu nodded. Of course, he knew about the Dragon City of the First Moon. It was a city of dragon warriors built by the previous tribe. But now, that tribe had long disappeared in the long river of time, and this dragon city was also modeled with rust. It had long since gained the aura and charm of history. Outside the city was the Demon Beast Sea. It was said that behind the continuous mountain peaks was a Demon Beast world. However, in the Demon Beast Sea, there were experts from the Flame Dragon Emperor's empire. Usually, there would be a Flame Dragon envoy in charge of guarding the Demon Beast Sea. So, generally speaking, there would not be any powerful demon beasts crossing the Demon Beast Sea to invade the Flame Dragon Emperor's empire. Also, in the area near the Dragon City of the First Moon, there would not be any powerful demon beasts. At most, there would be sky demons of the divine martial arts realm. Generally speaking, it was good for young dragon warriors to go to the Dragon City of the First Moon to gain experience. At least it was not a greenhouse. Sometimes, there would be stronger sky demons. On the Jiang tribe side, they knew that there were experts from the Flame Dragon Emperor's empire stationed in the Demon Beast Sea to stop the invasion of experts from the distant demon realm. But they did not know who the expert was. Only Kong Shinmu knew that it should be one of the Flame Dragon envoys. Ming Dragon King and K Dragon King had also gone there after leaving Kong Shinmu. It was said that they were going to find a friend to chat with. If it's in the Dragon City of the First Moon, I might go take a look after dealing with the matters here. Kong Shinmu said to Jiang Liuxue. His eyes were filled with nostalgia. Back then, he wanted to see Jiang Yuaning, but he was stopped by her father. The two of them did not see each other. It was also after that time that Jiang Liuxue followed Kong Shinmu all the way to the Dragon Ice domain in search of the Dragon Sealing Abyss. From then on, she had improved so much. This time, Kong Shinmu was going to Donghuang Yangwu College. It was an extremely distant place. After he went there, he did not know how long it would take for him to return. So before he left, he definitely had to see Jiang Yuaning. Jiang Liuxue still cared about the past. She was not polite to Kong Shinmu in the beginning. It was only after going with him to find Jiang Zizai that she understood Kong Shinmu a lot more. She knew that he had spent a lot of effort to get to where he was today. He had experienced many things that dragon warriors had never experienced before. All of this was obtained through hard work. If it were anyone else, even if they had the talent of devouring, they might not have the perseverance to reach Kong Shinmu's level. After returning to Great Jiang Dragon City, the first thing that Kong Shinmu did was naturally to visit his mother, Gu Yuero. He had retrieved some healing elixirs from Yen Dragon Emperor City. These elixirs were quite effective in curing his mother's serious illness. He returned to the familiar wooden house. From afar, he saw a woman dressed in plain clothes sitting at the door of the wooden house. She seemed to be resting. Her beautiful eyes were slightly closed, but her face was a little pale. Perhaps it was because she had been a little tired recently. Mother. Kong Shinmu was overwhelmed with emotions when he returned. Although he was extremely strong outside, he could not help but feel the urge to cry when he saw his mother. He had found the whereabouts of his father, Jiang Zizai. If he wanted to save him, he needed to become stronger. Even now, it was far from enough, so Kong Shinmu had to work hard. Kong Shinmu quickly walked forward and saw that Gu Yuero had finally opened her eyes. When she saw him, there was a hint of a smile in her beautiful eyes. "You're back." Gu Yuero was not too surprised, nor was she too pleasantly surprised. To her, she had already heard that Kong Shinmu had fought against 3 tribal elders near the mine. They were all at the 5th level of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. In the end, all 3 were defeated by Kong Shinmu. This level of strength was already very close to Jiang Zizai's. This made Gu Yuero seem to see Jiang Zizai from back then. She hoped even more to see Kong Shinmu save Jiang Zizai. Of course, if the danger was too great, she would rather have Kong Shinmu stay by her side. "This is the elixir I brought back from Yen Dragon Emperor City. It is extremely good for healing injuries. Mortal illnesses are not in Wuxia. I asked Yen Dragon Emperor for it. Kang Xinmu handed the elixir to Gu Yuero. The mother and son looked at each other and saw each other's intentions. "How long will you be staying this time?" Gu Yuero did not say much. She had always been quiet and gentle. After putting away the elixir, she asked a question. 10 days. I will write some dragon martial techniques for the Jiang clan. After preparing this matter, I will set off. Kang Xinmu thought about it. Should he tell Gu Yuero about Donghuang Yangwu College? Chapter 4132. Following that, Kang Xinmu stayed by Gu Yuero's side. Now, Gu Yuero still had many of Jiang Zizai's good friends. She would usually take care of them, so no one would bother her for no reason. Moreover, now that Kang Xinmu had returned and displayed his prowess near the mine, defeating the combined forces of 3 tribal elders, all the dragon warriors of the Jiang clan respected him greatly. It was impossible for them to provoke him at this time. In 10 days, Kang Xinmu wrote the Grade 3 Dragon Martial Skill, Phantom Dragon Fang, and the Grade 2 Dragon Martial Skill, Martial Dragon Shield. The Martial Dragon Shield was a reward from the Yen Dragon Army, and the Phantom Dragon Fang was a Dragon Martial Skill of the Shi clan. Now that Kang Xinmu had cultivated it to the heaven stage, it was naturally not a problem for him to spread it out. While he was writing the secret manual, Gu Yuero was by his side, looking at him with a gentle gaze. After taking the elixir that Kang Xinmu brought back, the hidden illness in her body gradually improved. This was the effect of splitting the elixir into several portions and boiling them into soup. Otherwise, as Gu Yuero was not a dragon warrior, her body would not have been able to withstand the violent power of the elixir. After 7 days, the elixir was divided into 7 portions and boiled into soup. After Gu Yuero drank it, her entire body became much better. Basically, the hidden illness that had plagued her for many years had disappeared. This was the elixir that Dragon Emperor Yen had given her. In fact, this was the world's best healing elixir. It was extremely effective for dragon warriors. In fact, Kang Xinmu had tried before to see if his devouring power could cure his mother's illness. Unfortunately, the devouring power could only heal injuries and not diseases. On the other hand, this pill was able to cure any problem that occurred to the human body. To Gu Yuero, she had never been in such a good state. Seeing Kang Xinmu's concentration as he wrote the dragon martial skill, Gu Yuero's heart was filled with sweetness and satisfaction. This was her son. This was also her son. Now, it seemed that he was no ordinary person. 10 days later, Kang Xinmu finally finished writing down the 20 moves of the dragon martial skill and handed it to Jiang Liuxue. He instructed her to select the Jiang clan's dragon warriors for them to practice the 2 dragon martial skills. These 2 dragon martial skills were of extremely high grade. To the Jiang clan, it was something that many would never come into contact with in their entire lives. Now that he had the chance, he naturally longed for it so much that he didn't even hesitate to use some despicable methods for it. After all, this was their only chance to rise. Other than that, it was easier said than done if they wanted to become the strongest among the dragon warriors. Therefore, Kang Xinmu deliberately expressed that he was about to leave the Jiang clan, and even leave the Yen Dragon Emperor's court. There was something important that Yen Dragon Emperor had ordered him to do. Once he left, he would probably not return for several years. When this news spread, Kang Xinmu had already left the great Jiang Dragon City. Everyone watched as he transformed into a black divine dragon. The 300 feet long sacred dragon body flew into the distance. Immediately after, the dragon martial artists in the entire great Jiang Dragon City became excited. Kang Xinmu had left. Many of those who originally thought that they would not have the chance to obtain the dragon martial skill manual began to think of ways to obtain it from Jiang Liuxue. For this reason, the Jiang clan forcefully convened a meeting of the elders to discuss the ownership of the 20 manuals. In fact, there should only be 18 dragon martial skill manuals. It must be known that 2 of the manuals were specifically designated by Kang Xinmu for Jiang Liuxue to practice. Moreover, the ownership of these manuals was designated by Kang Xinmu to Jiang Liuxue. Therefore, Jiang Liuxue naturally rejected the convening of the meeting of the elders. However, many of the elders ignored Jiang Liuxue's wishes and forcefully convened the meeting of the elders. According to their own discussions, the ownership of the manuals was decided. Among these people were some of Jiang Rong's former subordinates. Their faction was, after all, the strongest faction in the Jiang clan. Although Jiang Rong was dead, it had to be said that they still had 5 Nirvana Tribulation Realm dragon warriors. This was their right to speak and their capital. Finally, the elders of the Jiang clan decided on the people. Jiang Liuxue was included, but many of the righteous dragon warriors of the Jiang clan that Jiang Liuxue thought highly of were excluded. Among the remaining 19 people, there were more than 10 who only knew how to flaunt their prowess, but in fact did not contribute much to the Jiang clan. If the dragon martial skill manuals were to fall into the hands of such people, the Jiang clan would be in a state of chaos. Some of them had always been unhappy with Kang Xinmu, and had even discussed with Jiang Rong how to deal with Kang Xinmu. But now, they had obtained a spot. This naturally made Jiang Liuxue unhappy. Although Jiang Liuxue was still considered a junior, in fact, after following Kang Xinmu out to gain experience, whether it was in terms of knowledge or talent, her decisiveness had already surpassed most of the people in the Jiang clan. Jiang Liuxue naturally did not agree to the forceful decision of the elders. She straightforwardly expressed that she would distribute the 20 dragon martial skill manuals according to her wishes. After all, this was the responsibility that Kang Xinmu had left for her. Regarding this, many of the Jiang clan elders were immediately unhappy. You are clearly a junior, yet you dare to openly defy the decision of the elders. Are you still a part of the Jiang clan? That's right, this is the decision of the elders. It is an important step in the rise of our Jiang clan. You must follow the decision of the elders and hand over the manuals for the elders' safekeeping. Many of the elders, including the middle-aged man and woman who had spoken rudely to Kang Xinmu near the mine, began to criticize Jiang Liuxue. Now that Kang Xinmu had left, Jiang Liuxue had no one to rely on in the entire Jiang clan. Even though her father was an elder, her father was now standing at the side of the elders' council, urging her to hand over the manuals. She was being condemned by the masses. On this day, Jiang Liuxue was about to head to the square where the coiling dragon pillar was located in Great Jiang Dragon City. In the end, she was blocked by the elders' council. Jiang Liuxue, today, you must hand over the dragon martial skill manuals. Many elders were overbearing as they surrounded her in the middle. Jiang Liuxue suddenly laughed. These manuals were given to me by Kang Xinmu. He instructed me to hand them over to a trustworthy person. But all of you only know how to force me. Do you think you are trustworthy people? Chapter 41-33. Although Jiang Liuxue was the most promising member of the younger generation in the Jiang tribe, her cultivation level was still too low. As a result, she did not have much prestige. The surrounding elders who were pressuring her were all existences with higher cultivation levels than her. Although they were not necessarily stronger than her, their seniority was there. Adding to the fact that they were making things difficult for her, they were emboldened by their numbers. Naturally, they were so overbearing towards Jiang Liuxue. Now that Kang Xinmu was not in Dragon City, there was nothing for them to consider. As long as they obtained the dragon martial skill manuals, so what if they made Jiang Liuxue unhappy? Perhaps, once they obtained the dragon martial skill manuals, their strength would increase greatly. At that time, there would be no need for Jiang Liuxue to become the Jiang tribe's patriarch. They could take on the role themselves and lead the tribe to glory. Each and every one of them was overbearing, forcing Jiang Liuxue into a dead end. At this moment, Jiang Liuxue was trembling with anger. How could the Jiang tribe's elders be so shameless? Although there were still people standing on Jiang Liuxue's side, their voices had already been drowned out by the others. In the entire Jiang clan, a majority of the people had such thoughts. They wanted to obtain the dragon martial skill manuals for themselves. They did not even consider who would obtain the most benefits from cultivating the dragon martial skill manuals. Jiang Liuxue was somewhat disappointed. No wonder the Jiang tribe has been holed up in this remote place for so long, unable to step out. It's all because of these people. If they weren't so selfish, and instead thought for the tribe, then even if they didn't have high talent, they would still have contributed greatly to the tribe. Once the opportunity arises, the Jiang tribe would be able to step out of this mountain. Jiang Liuxue thought in her heart. She was rather disappointed in the Jiang clan. She might not have felt it before, but now, she could clearly see that the selfish people were clearly separated from the others. Even among the elders' management, the selfish tendencies were even more obvious. Perhaps it was because they had seen more experts, so they desired to become stronger. They were not satisfied with their current situation, so they acted this way. But in the face of the tribe's interests, it was too much for them to be so selfish. Jiang Liuxue turned to leave, but unexpectedly, two people blocked her path. Jiang Liuxue, why are you so stubborn? Hand over the Dragon Martial Skill Manual in your hands, it will be good for all of us. Their faces became terrifyingly gloomy. They were two middle-aged men, the sons of two elders of the Jiang clan. They had been frivolous since they were young, and their current cultivation was about the same as Jiang Liuxue's. Even people like you want to obtain this dragon martial skill? Jiang Liuxue was so angry that she laughed. These two fellows had been fooling around in Jianglong City since they were young and had earned a bad reputation. They had never paid attention to cultivation, but now they had appeared in front of her to persuade her to hand over the Dragon Martial Technique Manual. If you obtain this Dragon Martial Skill Manual, let's not talk about how far you can cultivate it. Even if you cultivate it well, you can only use it to flaunt your prowess in front of your own clansmen. When the time comes to fight against other opponents, where will you be? Jiang Liuxue's laughter abruptly stopped, and he coldly said, "Let's talk about the mine's resources last time. When the other tribes joined hands and asked for your help, weren't you all hiding at home? I'm afraid you were playing with women in bed. What use do people like you have for the dragon martial technique?" Jiang Liuxue had grown up in Jianglong City, so she naturally knew the faces of the people in Jianglong City. Although she had said so, no one had ever said such nasty words in public. The two middle-aged men's faces immediately became angry. Although they were hedonistic and had done such things, it did not mean that they were willing to let others say such things. Usually, if anyone dared to say such things to them, they would definitely suffer a storm of revenge. And now, Jiang Liuxue dared to say such things to them. This caused them to go mad with anger. Jiang Liuxue, don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. After all, the Jiang clan does not belong to you. Don't be so arrogant. Don't force us to take action, or you'll regret it later. One of the middle-aged men sternly shouted. The other elders from the Elders' Council also stood up and surrounded Jiang Liuxue. Hand over the dragon martial skill. We will remember your contributions to the tribe. That's right. You are still young, so you don't know the value of these dragon martial skills. With these dragon martial skills, we can definitely make our Jianglong City into an even stronger existence. If you were to choose by yourself, I'm afraid you would be bewitched by slanderous words from others, causing these dragon martial skills to fall into the hands of outsiders. They all talked at once, wanting to snatch the dragon martial skill manuals from Jiang Liuxue. They even had their swords unsheathed, as if they were ready to fight. Jiang Liuxue was extremely disappointed. If these dragon martial skill manuals fall into your hands, what's the difference between them falling into the hands of outsiders? She smiled. In the crowd, she saw most of the Jiang clan elders, but at the same time, she saw many who supported her and Kang Xinmu. Those who wanted to oppose the elders were all pushed out of the encirclement. Even if they wanted to help Jiang Liuxue, it was difficult to do so. If you don't hand over the manuals, don't blame us for taking action. At this moment, an elder sternly shouted and took the lead to walk forward. He stood in front of Jiang Liuxue, and the power of thunder within his body was already stirring. It looked like he wanted to forcefully snatch the dragon martial skill manuals from her hands. The atmosphere was tense. Jiang Liuxue was surrounded by many elders, as if she was surrounded by enemies. It made her feel a mountain-like pressure. She had never thought that she would encounter such a scene in Jianglong City. But soon, a huge black dragon that was more than 300 feet long suddenly descended from the sky toward the dragon city of the Great River. As it moved, it stirred up an endless amount of heaven and earth spiritual qi. The wind and clouds stirred and attracted everyone's attention. When they looked up, they immediately recognized the black dragon, Kang Xinmu. Kang Xinmu, didn't he leave? Why would he appear here? How sinister. Could it be that he deliberately wants to see what will happen in Jianglong City? There's actually such a sinister person in this world. He deliberately used the dragon martial skill manuals as bait to eradicate dissidents. They all cried out. First, they did not expect Kang Xinmu to suddenly appear. Second, they wondered if Kang Xinmu's appearance had been premeditated. Did he want to eradicate them, so he used the dragon martial skill manuals as a reason? They were dark in their hearts, so they naturally felt the same way when they saw others. And Kang Xinmu had no intention of eradicating dissidents. To him, he only wanted to see how many vermin existed in the Jiang clan. Chapter 41-34. With regards to Kang Xinmu's return, everyone in the Great Jiang Dragon City Square was inexplicably surprised. Some cursed Kang Xinmu for being sinister and despicable. He had actually returned to be used as bait to lure them into revealing their motives. But those who had such thoughts knew that their actions were wrong. They had forced Jiang Liuxue to hand over the dragon martial skills. In their hearts, how could they not know that there was something wrong with their actions? Now, with Kang Xinmu's return, they knew that there was no hope for them to obtain the dragon martial skill manuals. But they were indignant. It was not easy for them to have a chance to soar in life. Although this opportunity was given to them by Kang Xinmu, they still wanted to seize it no matter what. With such an opportunity, they did not feel any gratitude towards Kang Xinmu. Instead, they thought of ways to obtain a limited number of dragon martial skill manuals. Such a mentality was already difficult to understand. If they were thinking for the Jiang clan and not for themselves, then how could Kang Xinmu miss out on such a talented person? So, if they could not obtain the dragon martial skill manuals, they could only blame themselves for having bad intentions. They were always thinking of dishonest ways. Originally, there were many people in the Jiang clan with good intentions. They did not associate themselves with the people who had coerced Jiang Liuxue. Now that they saw Kang Xinmu reappear, they all relaxed. They were originally afraid that the Jiang clan would become the domain of those with bad intentions. But now, with Kang Xinmu here, that possibility no longer existed. Ugly faces, Yi Zichen said. Kang Xinmu descended from the sky and reverted to a black-clothed youth. He landed in the largest square of Great Jiang Dragon City and came to Jiang Liuxue's side. He turned his head and said to Jiang Liuxue, "Liuxue, take 2 of these 20 dragon martial skill manuals. As for the other 18, give them to the person you want. You can decide now. I'm sure you know what to do." Yes. Jiang Liuxue nodded. She was surprised by Kang Xinmu's sudden return, but she still felt that it was within her expectations. Kang Xinmu had previously been persecuted by Jiang Rong, and there were many such people in the Jiang tribe. He could not just leave in peace. If the wicked were to be in power, it would be a great threat to Kang Xinmu. What if his mother Gu Yuero was bullied? It should be known that the villains of the Jiang clan were all dissatisfied with Jiang Zizai, and they were also displeased with Kang Xinmu and his mother. Kang Xinmu's return made the square of Jiang Longqing bustle with noise and excitement. Those who had been clamoring for Jiang Liuxue to hand over the dragon martial technique had all retreated. After all, they were very clear that Kang Xinmu was someone who could single-handedly repel the combined forces of the other three great tribes' elders. Currently, the elders of the three major tribes were equivalent to the strongest people in the Jiang clan. In other words, unless everyone in Jiang Longqing gathered to deal with Kang Xinmu, there was no way they could do anything to Kang Xinmu. In Jiang Longqing, there were still many people who wanted the Jiang clan to become stronger. For the sake of the Jiang clan, these people would definitely not go against Kang Xinmu. As a result, it was clear who was stronger and who was weaker. Those who had wanted to force Jiang Liuxue now retreated, not daring to say a word. But the resentment in their eyes was not concealed. It was obvious that if they could not achieve their goal, they would become even more vicious in the future. But why would Kang Xinmu care? The 20 dragon martial technique manuals were given out with the sincerity to make the Jiang clan stronger. Once these people finished cultivating the dragon martial technique, they would be the true pillars of the Jiang clan. With them around, these people with evil intentions would be nothing more than clowns. The power of a Grade 2 and Grade 3 dragon martial technique far exceeded that of a Grade 4 or 5 dragon martial technique by several times, or even more than 10 times. Once they successfully cultivated it, the overall strength of the Jiang clan would greatly increase. Those who wanted to harm Kang Xinmu would not be able to affect Kang Xinmu. As the people who wanted to force Jiang Liuxue retreated, the others did not rush forward, but instead opened up a path for Kang Xinmu and Jiang Liuxue. Jiang Liuxue knew that it was time for her to make a choice. She was older, and her understanding of the Jiang clan was much greater than that of Kang Xinmu. After all, Kang Xinmu had immersed himself in cultivation when he was in the Jiang clan. Later on, he left the Jiang clan and rarely returned. So Kang Xinmu had given her the right to choose the dragon martial technique. In the crowd, she saw quite a number of people whom she had wanted to give the dragon martial skills secret manuals, so she called out their names one by one. These people were basically Jiang Liuxue's seniors, but those who were called out by Jiang Liuxue all felt overwhelmed by the favor. Most of these people were diligent people who worked hard for the Jiang clan. Not all of them had any special relationship with Jiang Liuxue. Moreover, these people's talent was not bad. Within the Jiang clan, they were considered to have a bright future. Jiang Liuxue did not choose those who were too old. She made an exception to give the current patriarch a dragon martial technique manual. This was to stabilize the Jiang clan situation. Moreover, the old patriarch's mentality was more stable, and he hoped that the Jiang clan would become better. In the Jiang clan, there were many evildoers, but these evildoers did not dare to appear when Kang Xinmu appeared. Not long after, Jiang Liuxue had given out 15 dragon martial technique manuals. The remaining 3 had people she had in mind. They were not near the square and would be given out later. After the dragon martial technique manuals were given out, the Jiang clan's dragon warriors who received them were those with pure hearts. They had good talent and were willing to work hard for the Jiang clan. Especially during the competition with the other tribes for resources, they had stood up and shed blood, even to the point of being seriously injured. Jiang Liuxue valued these people the most. She hoped that they would become stronger, and contribute more to the Jiang clan. Once they succeeded in cultivating the dragon martial technique, they would form a new clan elders assembly. They would lead the Jiang clan forward. After all, only the strong had the right to speak. Within the great Jiang Dragon City, the legend of Kang Xinmu began to spread among the commoners. It was believed that in the near future, the Jiang clan's overall strength would surpass the other tribes. It would even surpass the Meng tribal clan, the Ji tribal clan, the strongest tribes in the Dragon Prison domain. Chapter 4135. With the appearance of Kang Xinmu, the matter was resolved. After all, his appearance and actions at the mine were too crazy. He had defeated the combined forces of the elders of the three major tribes. It was simply shocking. His deification spread throughout the Jiang tribal clan, and those fellows did not dare to cause trouble for Kang Xinmu. After ensuring that the dragon martial skill manuals were distributed to those who were useful to the Jiang tribal clan, Kang Xinmu decided to bid farewell and leave. Donghuang Yangwu College was still waiting for him. But before that, he had to go to New Moon Dragon City to find Jiang Yuaning. Jiang Yuaning was the person that Kang Xinmu trusted the most when he first awakened as a dragon warrior. She had also helped Kang Xinmu a lot. Now that Jiang Yuaning was training in New Moon Dragon City, it was necessary for Kang Xinmu to see her before he left. New Moon Dragon City was located at the edge of the Jiang tribal clan. Outside of New Moon Dragon City was the Demon Beast Forest. Usually, the Flame Dragon Envoy would stand guard from afar to ensure that no powerful demon beasts would enter. And this Demon Beast Forest was the training ground for the dragon warriors of the Jiang tribal clan in New Moon Dragon City. Kang Xinmu flew all the way from the Great Jiang Dragon City to New Moon Dragon City in a little more than a day. Near New Moon Dragon City, he transformed into a black-clothed youth and kept a low profile as he headed into the city. New Moon Dragon City is close to the Jiang tribal clan's West Prefecture. In this Dragon City, the West Prefecture has the most dragon warriors. Kang Xinmu remembered that New Moon Dragon City was relatively close to the West Prefecture, so there were more dragon warriors in the West Prefecture. As a dragon warrior of the Grand Prince's palace, Jiang Yuaning's training in New Moon Dragon City would not be too smooth. After all, the competition between the 5 prefectures of the Jiang tribal clan was quite fierce. Jiang Liuxue came from the northern residence. With her rise, the rise of the northern residence was expected. However, it was a good thing for the Jiang clan as a whole. After all, if the Jiang clan as a whole became stronger, then the 5 residences would have the opportunity to improve. In New Moon Dragon City, there were not as many dragon martial artists as in Great Jiang Dragon City. However, there were still a lot of them and they could be seen everywhere on the streets. Kang Xinmu did not ask anyone, but along the way, he still heard many people talking about the fight for resources in the mine. Kang Xinmu's name had already spread to the Dragon City, causing the dragon warriors here to be familiar with this name. Of course, most of the dragon warriors in the New Moon Dragon City did not know what Kang Xinmu looked like. After all, it was quite a distance. They would not normally go to Jiang Longcheng. Furthermore, Kang Xinmu was rarely in Jiang Longcheng. He was always training outside the Jiang tribe. From the discussions of the dragon warriors in New Moon Dragon City, Kang Xinmu knew that his name had already spread throughout the Jiang tribal clan. Many of the dragon warriors said Kang Xinmu's name with reverence. It was Kang Xinmu who had defeated the other tribes and protected the Jiang tribal clan's mine resources. Most importantly, he had left behind 20 dragon martial technique manuals of Grade 2 and Grade 3 dragon martial techniques. The dragon warriors who could obtain these dragon martial technique manuals would definitely increase the overall strength of the Jiang tribal clan. However, there were also many dragon warriors who were full of disdain towards Kang Xinmu. To these dragon warriors, Kang Xinmu was the son of Jiang Zizai, so it was normal for him to have such ability. However, the crux of the matter was that Kang Xinmu rarely appeared in the Jiang tribal clan. Even if he was strong, how could he help the Jiang tribal clan? Just like Jiang Zizai. Although he was powerful, he had completely disappeared, causing the overall strength of the Jiang tribal clan to fall. In the eyes of these people, Jiang Zizai had become the main reason for the decline of the Jiang tribal clan's strength. This made Kang Xinmu very uncomfortable. After all, without Jiang Zizai, the Jiang tribal clan would not have been able to rise again. As a result, Jiang Zizai was trapped in the sealed dragon abyss, and these people blamed Jiang Zizai for the Jiang tribal clan's failure to rise? However, Jiang Xinwu did not pay attention to these fellows because he knew that it was useless to rely on words to convince them. Such people, no matter what they did for them, would not be grateful. They would only ask for more. They were selfish, just like the people who forced Jiang Liuxue to hand over the dragon martial technique manuals in Jiang Longcheng. If they were in Jiang Longcheng, then they would be among the people who forced Jiang Liuxue to hand over the dragon martial technique manuals. Kang Xinmu did not care about these people, and no one recognized him. He walked straight into the city, enjoying the scenery of the Jiang tribal clan one last time before he left. The scenery here was not very good, and the dragon warriors were not very strong. However, for Kang Xinmu, it was the place where he grew up. Furthermore, his mother was still in the Jiang tribal clan, so he would return one day. Suddenly, he saw a familiar figure appear on the street in front of him. Jiang Yuaning? Kang Xinmu stood still and looked into the distance. He saw Jiang Yuaning with a small team, seemingly preparing to leave the city for training. At this moment, Jiang Yuaning had reached the first level of the divine martial realm. She could be considered one of the best of the younger generation in the Jiang tribal clan, and her strength was tyrannical. In the team she was in, she seemed to have a rather close relationship with a handsome young man. The two of them were chatting and laughing as they brought the other young dragon warriors behind them. They were about to go out and hunt some demonic beasts to train and harvest some demonic cores. It seems that she has her own life now. Kang Xinmu felt gratified. He was originally afraid that Jiang Yuaning would always remember him, but now it seemed that he did not need to worry about it. From the pointing and discussion of the people around them, Kang Xinmu learned that the handsome young man was the son of the city lord of New Moon Dragon City. New Moon Dragon City was the territory of the West Prefecture, and the city lord was an elder of the West Prefecture. So the young man's talent was not bad, and he was a good match for Jiang Yuaning. The group of people walked on the street. Kang Xinmu did not appear to see them, but silently watched them leave. Then he followed them out of New Moon Dragon City, towards the demon beasts forest outside the city. Let's leave the Yan Dragon Emperor Court from here and go to Donghuang Yangwu College. Kang Xinmu thought for a moment, then followed them from a distance. Before they left, he could still protect them for a while. Soon, Jiang Yuaning and the group of 7 flew above the demon beasts forest. Kang Xinmu calmly followed them from below. He was not in a hurry. The other party was dozens of miles away from him, so it was impossible for them to discover his existence. I hope they will not encounter any danger, then I can leave directly. Chapter 41-36. Kang Xinmu was originally following behind Jiang Yuaning and the rest. However, when he heard the roar of the demonic beast ahead, he immediately took a detour and flew forward. He transformed into a black divine dragon and flew through the forest at an extremely fast speed. Initially, Jiang Yuaning and the few young men seemed to be chatting and laughing. However, after the terrifying wave of energy in front of them, all of them turned pale. This was because they felt that the power in front of them was a power that they could not resist. On the other hand, Kang Xinmu felt that the power in front of him was about the same level as him. If it was a demonic beast that surpassed the heaven demon, it would basically be a nirvana tribulation existence. However, Kang Xinmu felt that he should be able to handle it. However, now, Kang Xinmu did not want to meet Jiang Yuaning and the rest. Why would such a demonic beast come to this forest? Kang Xinmu could not figure it out. However, no matter what, he had to go and kill that demonic beast. Jiang Yuaning and the rest stopped almost as soon as the power of the demonic beast spread out. Therefore, Kang Xinmu quickly overtook them from the side. However, he did not appear in front of them and almost silently went to the front. Jiang Yuaning seemed to vaguely see a familiar black dragon passing through the forest in the distance. However, it disappeared in the blink of an eye, making her almost think that she had seen an illusion. Is that Kang Xinmu? She looked a little doubtful. How could Kang Xinmu come to this place? He is most likely in Great Jiang Dragon City now. I heard that he came back this time and he is very proud. That's right. Yuaning, don't think about Kang Xinmu anymore. He has taken a fancy to that woman in Dragon Prisoner City. It's not worth it for you to be sad for him. The young men around her said one after another. Jiang Yuaning shook her head and did not say much. She didn't have too many thoughts about Kang Xinmu. She just treated Kang Xinmu as a friend. She had recently heard a lot of news about Kang Xinmu. For example, he had single-handedly defeated the combined forces of the other tribes' elders, and had retrieved the Jiang clans or resources. He had also left behind the second and third grade dragon martial technique manuals, and was about to leave the Jiang clan. She just felt that it was a pity that she couldn't see Kang Xinmu again before Kang Xinmu left as a farewell. Now, she seemed to have seen Kang Xinmu, but she couldn't be sure. After all, his eyes might be playing tricks on him. Very soon, the sounds of battle could be heard from the front. The demonic beast that was roaring violently seemed to have fallen into a bitter battle. Jiang Yuaning wanted to go up and take a look, but the others held her back and didn't let her. When the sounds of battle in front of them gradually stopped, they carefully approached and saw the corpse of a giant flying tiger demonic beast. This demonic beast was an existence that surpassed the sky demon, and its combat strength was equivalent to the 4th or 5th stage of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. Now, it was lying in a pool of blood, but its body was still intact. If they could drag it back, they could exchange it for many precious cultivation resources and materials. Who killed this demonic beast? They didn't even want the corpse. The dragon warriors with Jiang Yuaning were pleasantly surprised. They immediately went forward to drag the flying tiger demonic beast back. This was a huge harvest. Only Jiang Yuaning looked into the distance. She seemed to have thought of something, and her eyes were filled with nostalgia. But not long after, she smiled. She already knew who the person was. Kang Xinmu had indeed come, but he didn't come to see her. This was a good thing for her, lest she didn't have to say goodbye when the time came. Let's go back. Jiang Yuaning and the others brought the flying tiger demonic beast's corpse and returned to New Moon Dragon City. She also had a kind of persistence in her heart. She didn't want to keep watching and chasing after Kang Xinmu. She had her own life, and her talent wasn't weak. If she was given a chance, she could also soar into the sky. Everything would depend on fate in the future. After Kang Xinmu killed the flying tiger, he left the place and flew straight to the vast demonic beast forest. He put down Jiang Yuaning and everyone else. Next, he had to look forward. Donghuang Yangwu College was a bridge for him to advance to a stronger level. This opportunity must be seized, otherwise, it would be impossible to rescue his father, Jiang Zizai. The ancestral dragon was an existence that surpassed the entire continent. If he couldn't become the strongest on the continent, how could he see the ancestral dragon? He passed by the junction point between the dense forest and the demonic realm. There was a flame dragon envoy guarding there to prevent any overly strong demonic beasts from the demonic realm from breaking into the Dragon Emperor's territory. Kang Xinmu seemed to see the flame dragon envoys in the dense forest. There were 3 flame dragon envoys, including Dragon King K and Dragon King Ming. They were all here. They didn't appear in front of Kong Shinmu, but they all gave Kong Shinmu an encouraging look. From their eyes, Kong Shinmu could see their expectations for him. He could also see that the flying tiger demonic beast was deliberately let in by them. They originally wanted to give him and Jiang Yuaning a chance to meet. In the end, Kong Shinmu killed the demonic beast and continued forward. This made the flame dragon envoys feel helpless, but also gratified. After all, this meant that Kong Shinmu had put down some of his original things, and would pursue the future with all his might. As for where the Dragon Emperor wanted Kong Shinmu to go, the flame dragon envoys naturally vaguely knew. Perhaps the next time he returned, Kong Shinmu would be someone that they had to look up to. Now, farewell. No one came to send Kong Shinmu off, because the Dragon Emperor had said that he had to go to Donghuang Yangwu College with his own strength. If someone escorted him, the Donghuang Yangwu College would not recognize his identity as a student. After all, those who could directly break through the 5th level of the Super Dragon Sacred Tower, if they didn't have the ability to go to Donghuang Yangwu College alone, they wouldn't have the ability to be independent. Combat power was one thing, but survival ability was more important. Donghuang Yangwu College was not particularly far from the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty. Along the way, they would have to pass through more than 10 dragon warrior countries. Of course, they would have to take a detour, because part of it was the boundary of the demon realm. Kong Shinmu took off from the dense forest and flew forward quickly. After flying for about 3 or 4 days, he still couldn't see the end of the dense forest, and the surrounding demonic beasts had increased. This must be the boundary between the demon realm and the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty. I wonder where the Heaven Awakening demon realm is. Kong Shinmu thought for a while and decided to set off from the Heaven Awakening demon realm. At least he had to ask the Heaven Awakening demon dragon first. Anyway, he was now far away from the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty, and it was impossible for anyone to follow him and spy on him. Chapter 4137. Heaven Awakening Demon Realm. Kong Shinmu was brought here by Heaven Awakening Demon Dragon and destroyed the Spacetime Gate. Because he wanted to go to Donghuang Yangwu College from here, it would be much closer than from the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty. My lord, I haven't seen you for more than a year. I wonder what happened. Heaven Awakening Demon Dragon brought Kong Shinmu over and asked with some doubts. In fact, from the time he got close to Kong Shinmu, he did not lose anything. At most, he spent some time looking for treasures for Kong Shinmu. These things were not needed by monsters like them. So when Kong Shinmu disappeared for more than a year, Heaven Awakening Demon Dragon did not feel too conflicted. He just felt that it was a pity. He thought that Kong Shinmu had accidentally fallen. After all, he felt that the last place Kong Shinmu appeared was in the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty. And the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty was a place that even he could not go to. There were too many tyrannical dragon martial artists. I have been cultivating in seclusion in the Flame Dragon Sacred Tower. I am now a dragon martial artist with the inheritance of the holy dragon blood. Kong Shinmu said lightly, now, I am going to Donghuang Yangwu College. So powerful? Heaven Awakening Demon Dragon suddenly became interested. He used to be a dragon martial artist, but later combined with the bloodline of monsters, causing him to become a demon dragon. He had heard of the Donghuang Dragon Martial Academy by chance. Although he wasn't a true dragon martial artist, his battle prowess wasn't much weaker than the Yen Dragon Emperor's. Therefore, there were some things that he could still hear when communicating with other demonic beasts. I have heard of this Donghuang Yangwu College. The Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon continued, there was once a gathering in the demon realm near us. There was once an old demon who mentioned this Donghuang Yangwu College. It was said that as long as one could step into it, they would at least be in existence on the level of the Dragon Emperor when they come out. Of course, if it was just the Dragon Emperor, the Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon wouldn't be too concerned. After all, he was a powerful devil dragon that was on par with the Dragon Emperor. However, in Kang Shinmu's body, there was a black dragon's consciousness that he could not see clearly. Under such circumstances, Kang Shinmu's trip to Donghuang Yangwu College should not be as simple as becoming a Dragon Emperor, right? Looks like I'll have to prepare to welcome the return of my lord as the Dragon Emperor. The heaven-opening devil dragon respectfully lowered his head. You've helped me a lot. If I become successful in the future, I will definitely not forget you. Kang Shinmu waved his hand. There's no need to say anything else now. Take me away from the Heaven Awakening Devil Realm and head in the direction of Donghuang Yangwu College. No problem. The Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon hurriedly nodded. Although I don't know where Donghuang Yangwu College is, the direction is correct. After all, in the entire eastern part of the Dragon Martial Continent, the central and largest Dragon Emperor Kingdom is in that direction. You just have to go straight to the Azure Dragon Kingdom. Donghuang Yangwu College should be near the Azure Dragon Kingdom. Alright. Kang Shinmu nodded. The Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon transformed into his Devil Dragon form and brought along Kang Shinmu in his human form. They flew straight in a certain direction. The reason why Kang Shinmu did not transform into a dragon was because this was the demon realm. Moreover, the Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon still had to bring him across the Heaven Awakening Devil Realm and leave through other demon realms. Therefore, if Kang Shinmu revealed his dragon form, he might attract trouble from some demon beasts. Right now, the Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon's aura could completely conceal Kang Shinmu's aura. After all, without transforming into a dragon, Kang Shinmu's body was very small. This could be considered a shortcut. Going from the Heaven Awakening Devil Realm and following the Yen Dragon Emperor Kingdom could save at least half a month's time. Kang Shinmu sat cross-legged on the Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon's body and watched him fly from the Heaven Awakening Devil Realm to the other demon realms. There were several demon realms here, and the various demon beast kings took care of each other. A single dragon warrior kingdom could not eradicate these demon realms. As for the other powerful dragon warrior kingdoms, they could not be bothered to come to this remote area to deal with them. Therefore, over time, this area had become a paradise for demon beasts. As a dragon warrior, Kang Shinmu would probably die in less than a day if he were to fly in the sky. No matter how powerful he was, he would not be able to escape. However, with the Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon carrying him, it did not matter. No matter what, the Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon was the master of the Heaven Awakening Devil Realm. When he reached the territories of other demon realms, other demon beasts would give him some face and would not do anything to him. Therefore, Kang Shinmu followed the Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon and flew all the way north. Kang Shinmu trusted the Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon. After all, if the Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon wanted to deal with him, he would have had countless opportunities to do so. He would not have waited until now. And just as Kang Shinmu expected, the Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon carried him and quickly left the endless demon realms. 7 days later, a vast plain appeared in front of Kang Shinmu. The Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon landed at the edge of the plain and transformed into his human form. My lord, in front of us is the first dragon warrior nation in the direction of the Azure Dragon Nation. It is called the Demon Emperor Dragon Nation. This dragon warrior nation is a dragon warrior, and the Dragon Emperor is a black dragon like my lord. However, he is definitely not as powerful as my lord. Stop flattering me. Kang Shinmu could not be bothered to listen to these things. He was only concerned about the most important thing. How does the Demon Emperor Dragon Nation compare to the Flame Dragon Emperor Dynasty? It is definitely stronger than the Flame Dragon Emperor Dynasty. After all, it is richer in resources. The Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon immediately answered. Understood. Wait for my return. After Kong Shinmu finished speaking, he waved his hand and let the Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon leave first. Even if the Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon transformed into his human form, he could not hide his identity as a demon dragon in front of some experts. Therefore, he did not intend to accompany Kong Shinmu into the Demon Emperor Dragon Nation. Kong Shinmu advanced towards the plain alone. This time, he had taken a shortcut, which saved him at least 20 days of time. After all, the Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon flew him along the way, which was much faster than if he had traveled alone. Soon, he saw a city on the plain. The city walls were pitch black, giving off a deep and desolate aura. If the entire Demon Emperor Dragon Nation was built in this style, then the dragon warriors in the nation would definitely be more murderous. Kong Shinmu reminded himself to be careful. Not long after, he neared the city and flew down from a cliff. The top of this cliff was close to the continuous demon realm. Therefore, very few dragon warriors would come here. Now that Kong Shinmu flew down from the cliff, there were no other dragon warriors around him. This made him heave a sigh of relief. He immediately changed his direction and prepared to step into the city from another direction. As he neared the city walls, Kong Shinmu finally saw some scattered dragon warriors on the road outside. They were also heading towards the city. Chapter 41-38. On the surface, Kong Shinmu didn't look much different from the Dragon Martial sect of the Demon Emperor Dragon Country. The Dragon Martial sect didn't have a clear affiliation in the Dragon Martial continent. Basically, they could go wherever they wanted. Now that Kong Shinmu had come to the Demon Emperor Dragon Country, he naturally had to regard himself as a Dragon Martial sect of the Demon Emperor Dragon Country. Otherwise, he might be ostracized and killed in a foreign land. Although he was just passing by the Demon Emperor Dragon Country, it would take him at least 1 or 2 months to get to know the territory of the Demon Emperor Dragon Country. As the territory of the Demon Emperor Dragon Country was too large, Zhang Tai had to know more about it during this period. After passing through the Demon Emperor Dragon Country, there were still 4 or 5 Dragon Emperor kingdoms to reach the Azure Dragon Country. Dragon Emperor Yan himself wasn't particularly clear about the matter of Donghuang Yangwu College. After all, he wasn't qualified to go to Donghuang Yangwu College. Kong Shinmu only knew the approximate location and direction of Donghuang Yangwu College. As long as he reached the Azure Dragon Country and asked around, he should be able to find out the specific location of Donghuang Yangwu College. Kong Shinmu might not be able to find Donghuang Yangwu College just by relying on the map that Dragon Emperor Yan had given him. Although there were some simple topography on the map, such as oceans and mountains, there was no division of the Dragon Emperor kingdoms. In other words, Kong Shinmu couldn't use the map to distinguish the territories of the Dragon Emperor kingdoms. He could only guess his approximate location based on the topography. It wouldn't be easy to reach his destination with just that. Hence, gathering information along the way became something that Kong Shinmu had to do. The Demon Emperor Dragon Country was also a country with only one Dragon Emperor. That Dragon Emperor's strength should be similar to the Yen Dragon Emperor's. In any case, Kong Shinmu couldn't deal with him now. However, they were still in the vicinity of the Heaven Awakening Demon Realm and the Demon Emperor Dragon Country. If Kong Shinmu encountered danger that he could not deal with, he could still ask the Heaven Awakening Demon Dragon to come and rescue him through the gate of time and space. However, if they were to leave the Devil Emperor Dragon Country, the Heaven Opening Rogue Dragon would not be able to do it because it was too far away. Kong Shinmu calmed himself down and walked on the main road towards the small city that the Demon Dragon Emperor was heading towards. Recently, he had been on the back of the Heaven Awakening Devil Dragon and had not had a good rest. Therefore, it was time to find a place to rest. Moreover, it was not that dragon warriors did not need to eat. They could just go without food for a period of time. It was impossible for Kong Shinmu to not eat anything along the way. After all, it would take 1 or 2 years to reach Donghuang Yonggu College. Moreover, the currency of each Dragon Emperor country was different. Every time Kong Xinmu went to a new Dragon Emperor country, he would definitely think of a way to get some currency. Although he did not need a lot, at least he had to ensure his survival and cultivation. Some elixirs were also more important to Kong Xinmu. If there was a chance, he would try to fight for it. Once he obtained it, it would be very beneficial to his cultivation level. Right now, I have the Divine Dragon Inheritance Essence Blood of the Sacred Dragon level. Among the dragon warriors of my age, I am second to none. Even in the Demon Emperor Dragon country, there shouldn't be a sacred dragon younger than me. Kong Xinmu thought to himself. This meant that he had to hide himself well and not expose his essence blood of the Divine Dragon. Once it was exposed, there would definitely be great trouble. Moreover, he had to hide the seal of the East Emperor on his wrist. Every Dragon Emperor country took the responsibility of cultivating the future Super Divine Dragon. To the Dragon Emperor, if he found out that there were young people cultivated by other countries who were qualified to go to Donghuang Yonggu College, he would most likely intercept them or even kill them. This was a very normal mentality. Therefore, as long as Kong Xinmu did not cause any trouble, he would be safe. However, it was also quite dangerous. Ahead, he arrived at the first city after the Demon Emperor Dragon country. The heaven-opening Devil Dragon had already returned. Alone, Kong Xinmu was dressed in black. Although he looked young, his expression was very determined. He walked towards the city. Along the way, he saw many people entering the city directly. Basically, he was not questioned. The guards at the city gate were also somewhat listless. He knew that this city did not require any status or money to enter. In the Yen Dragon Empire, some cities required a certain fee to enter. However, this city didn't have to do so. Therefore, Kong Xinmu adjusted his mentality and walked directly into the city. As expected, when he passed by the city gate, the guards did not stop him and let him in directly. It could be seen that the scale of this city wasn't big, and its level wasn't considered high either. Basically, it was equivalent to a small city in the Fire Dragon Empire, similar to a city next to Dragon Prison City, just like Laozhan City. Moreover, it was located at the border. Basically, there wouldn't be any demonic beasts in the demonic world next to it causing trouble, so it was relatively peaceful. To Kong Xinmu, this kind of environment was just right for him to understand some information about the Demon Emperor Dragon country. Now that he did not have the currency of the Demon Emperor Dragon country, he naturally could not go to inns or restaurants. However, he could go to the Dragon Combat Arena to see if there were any bets. In the end, he found that the strongest dragon warrior in the Dragon Combat Arena was basically the inheritor of the heavenly dragon blood, and they had not even reached the Nirvana Tribulation realm. Now, Kong Xinmu was in the 9th tier of the Divine Martial realm. If he could step into the Nirvana Tribulation realm, he would naturally reach another level. Unfortunately, in this small city, Kong Xinmu did not find an opponent, so it was impossible for him to have this opportunity to break through. Moreover, after breaking through to the Nirvana Tribulation realm, the most important thing was to pass the Nirvana Tribulation. To pass the Nirvana Tribulation, I must do it in a relatively safe environment. This city is just right. Jiang Shenwu spent 3 days investigating the surrounding environment and discovered that there wouldn't be any strong people coming here. Even if he were to undergo Nirvana Tribulation in this place, he wouldn't be able to attract any threats to him. In the entire city, it could be said that Kong Xinmu was the strongest. After all, there were only a handful of Nirvana Tribulation realm dragon warriors here. The city lord was only an inheritor of the heavenly dragon blood, an existence at the 3rd level of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. To Kong Xinmu, this was something that he could easily deal with, so there was no need to be afraid. Therefore, during this period of time, he casually took up some work in the city and obtained some currency of the Demon Emperor Dragon country, the Devil Emperor coin. This Dragon Emperor expert of the Dragon Emperor country was called the Devil Dragon Emperor. In this small border city, the Devil Dragon Emperor was basically a legend, and had never appeared here. After Kong Xinmu obtained some Devil Emperor coins, he had the capital to survive here. Moreover, he was still accumulating his cultivation, constantly trying to break through, and come into contact with and comprehend the Nirvana force. After passing the Nirvana tribulation, the Nirvana force would be born in the body. Everyone's Nirvana force would be similar to their own inherent skill. Generally speaking, the attributes were extremely similar. Those who possessed the fire attribute inherent skill had a very small chance of comprehending the ice attribute Nirvana force. Chapter 41-39. Kong Xinmu stayed in the city for about 10 days. Then, he felt as if he was about to touch the threshold of the Nirvana tribulation realm. It had been a long time since he broke through to the 9th level of the divine martial realm. After such a long time of accumulation, he had been looking forward to the Nirvana tribulation realm for a long time. Now that he was concentrating on his cultivation, he could finally touch the aura of the Nirvana tribulation realm. The Nirvana tribulation was very fierce. Kong Xinmu had heard that many dragon warriors would die under the Nirvana tribulation realm when they tried to break through to the Nirvana tribulation realm. Therefore, many dragon warriors in the 9th level of the divine martial realm would not necessarily choose to endure the Nirvana tribulation. They had to wait until their fighting strength reached a certain level before they dared to try it. Of course, the first Nirvana tribulation was not too powerful, but it could still stop a large number of dragon warriors who tried to break through. The Nirvana tribulation descended from the sky, and the movement was relatively large. This included the Nirvana tribulation realm dragon warriors. Every time they wanted to raise their cultivation base, they would have to go through a Nirvana tribulation. Only by enduring the Nirvana tribulation every time, would they be able to evolve continuously and reach a realm similar to the Yen Dragon Emperor and the Yen Dragon Envoy. The Reincarnation Tribulation Realm. That was a completely new realm. Dragon warriors who could reach the Reincarnation Tribulation Realm could be said to be rare in every Dragon Emperor's country. In the Yen Dragon Emperor's country, in each of the dozens of dragon domains, such as the Dragon Domain and the Dragon Ice Domain, there were no more than 5 people who could reach the Reincarnation Tribulation Realm. Moreover, most of them had just stepped into the Reincarnation Tribulation Realm. Compared to the Yen Dragon Emperor and the 12 Yen Dragon Envoys, they were too far behind. For example, the sacred dragon Shi Tao of the Shi clan mansion, and the sacred dragon Xia Yan who had betrayed Kong Xinmu, were examples. There were also the Dragon King Quan, Dragon King Qiu and others from the Quan Dragon Domain, who had just stepped into the Reincarnation Tribulation Realm. Compared to the 12 Flame Dragon Envoys, such existences were far inferior. The expert from the Demon Hunters Association that Kong Xinmu had met in Dragon Ice City, Jiang Tianqi, was a Rebirth Tribulation Realm Dragon Warrior. Moreover, his level was much higher than Dragon Ice King's, which was why he was able to protect Kong Xinmu previously. I should be able to endure the Nirvana Tribulation Realm now. After all, I've even killed countless Nirvana Tribulation Realm dragon warriors and demon beasts. Kong Xinmu thought to himself. He was not afraid of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm at all. Others would be stuck in the 9th level of the Divine Martial Realm for a very long time. They would only dare to challenge the Nirvana Tribulation Realm when they were sure that their strength had reached a certain level. But Kong Xinmu didn't need it. As long as there was an opportunity for the Nirvana Tribulation Realm to descend, he decided to rush to that realm. When he had a premonition that the Nirvana Tribulation was coming, Kong Xinmu left the city and headed deeper into the Demon Emperor Dragon country. During this period of time, he had basically figured out the nearby map. He knew that there was a forest occupied by demon beasts nearby. This forest was very close to the demon realm, but the demon beasts that lived there were not very strong. These demon beasts were basically driven out of the demon realm and had nowhere to go. That was why they came to this forest. The strongest demon beast among them seemed to have just passed the Nirvana tribulation. For Kong Shinmu, this forest posed no threat. Usually, some dragon warriors would come to this forest to train, but most of them were true dragon warriors with divine dragon blood essence. At most, they had heavenly dragon blood essence. They were all divine martial realm dragon warriors. Therefore, Kong Shinmu regarded this forest as a good place for him to rush to the Nirvana tribulation realm. In his human form, he flew toward the depths of the forest. As he flew, he felt the pressure from the sky. He was getting closer and closer. The Nirvana tribulation seemed to be brewing. In the sky, there were occasional flashes of lightning, and the sky above the forest gradually darkened. However, at that moment, the silhouettes of several divine dragons appeared before Jiang Shenwu, blocking his path. Kong Shinmu frowned slightly. He found that those dragon warriors were basically at the divine martial realm. Among them, there were 2 inheritors of heavenly dragon blood essence at the 9th level of the divine martial realm. One was a fire dragon, and the other was a water dragon. They were now staring at Kong Shinmu, who was flying over. The young master of Snow Demon City is handling some matters here. Unrelated people, leave quickly. The 2 dragon warriors with heavenly dragon blood essence stared at Kong Shinmu, who was approaching in the sky, and shouted a warning. After all, they also felt that Kong Shinmu's cultivation was at the 9th level of the divine martial realm. If they could avoid conflict with him, it was best not to. The young master of Snow Demon City? Kong Shinmu frowned slightly and slowed down. He had heard of this guy recently. It was said that he was a very talented young man and was the son of the Lord of Snow Demon City. Snow Demon City was the main city of the Demon Emperor Dragon Country, similar to Dragon Prison City in Dragon Ice City. In other words, the status of the young master of Snow Demon City was equivalent to that of the son of the Dragon King. It could be said that in this dragon field, he could summon the wind and summon the rain. Normally, Kong Shinmu would not bother to provoke him. But now, he was about to break through to the Nirvana tribulation realm, and the Nirvana tribulation was already brewing in the sky. If he found a new place now, it might be too late. I heard that the young master of Snow Demon City is cruel and merciless. If he wants to do something, he will definitely kill everyone and leave no future trouble. Jiang Shenwu didn't know what the Snow Demon City's young lord was doing here, but he had disturbed the other party. If he encountered the Nirvana tribulation on the spot, the other party would definitely hit him while he was down and take advantage of his precarious situation to attack him. It was too late to leave now, I have to make the first move. Kong Shinmu's eyes turned cold. No matter how talented the young master of Snow Demon City was, he was only a young man in his 20s. It had only been a few years since he awakened as a dragon martial artist. Although he had entered the Nirvana tribulation realm, Kong Shinmu was not afraid of him. These thoughts flashed across Kong Shinmu's mind in a flash. The Nirvana tribulation was coming. If the young master took the opportunity to attack him, he would have no chance of survival. Therefore, this was the only option for Kong Shinmu. Oh, what a coincidence. Why would someone choose to undergo the Nirvana tribulation here? At this time, a frivolous voice came from the front. Immediately after, a total of more than 10 people flew out from the dense forest and appeared in front of Jiang Shenwu. Obviously, the unusual movement in the sky had attracted the attention of the young master of Snow Demon City. This made Kong Shinmu's heart skip a beat. This matter might be a little troublesome. In front of him, including the handsome young master of Snow Demon City in the middle, there were a total of 14 people. Every one of them seemed to have inherited the blood essence of a heavenly dragon. The young master of Snow Demon City had the highest cultivation level, at the 2nd level of the Nirvana tribulation realm. There were 2 others at the 1st level of the Nirvana tribulation realm. Together, their combat strength was very strong. Kang Shinmu might not be a match for them if they joined forces.